I told you I'm here to get it, cause baby I'm in my prime. So if you want it, come with it, nobody dimming my shine. Been a long time, homie, since I first got down. Still on top of my game, forever play to the crowd. When I'm in front of a mic and I'm in the spotlight, the Gridiron, man, we taking y'all on a flight. Always coming for the hardcore, this is what I work for. Got a feeling for some more, they yelling encore. Verbally, I'm bringing heat to the streets. The flame spitter, my squad, nothing but winners, and you'll never see a quitter. Cause adversity is part of the plan. Just as sure as you go, always bob your head to the jam. So turn your volume up, you can see me up on your screen. Kicking knowledge like you need it, y'all some football fiends. Bringing heat at 100, we the realest around. Welcome to the Gridiron, baby, it's going down now. Like the music buzzing and amps. When I hit the end zone, fans are rocking the stands. Cause I'm an already known until the break of the dawn. Not Zeke, but I'ma eat the way I'm seeing the field. It's the battle hymn, homie, gonna bang in your ear. And when they hear it, they gon' know the Kings is here. Already known until the break of the dawn. Not Zeke, but I'ma eat the way I'm seeing the field. I'm here to get mine, never gonna dwell on the past. Always moving forward, I won't take my foot off the gas. And I'm ready for the battle and whatever may come. I fight from up in the saddle, go and beat that war drum. If you want some, get some. Wicked about to get dumb. Got the crowd getting loud, everybody heads from. Hitting hard and coming stronger like a buck from a cage. Like Micah, I'm a lion busting out of my cage. Cause y'all ain't holding me now, I'll break your bury you down. Go and check your books, cause there ain't no play to be found. They can counter what I'm bringing, you ain't figure me out. Hitting suckers from their gut to their chest and their mouth. And now we steady climbing up to the top. You trying to get on our level, they watch your ass get dropped. You was your boy on the track, the OG double G. I'm rolling with the heavy hitter, yeah, that's Jerzey the King. Let's get it.
Let's get it. We got a lot to talk about today, my brother. It's week 2 of the UFL.
Yes,
we got 2 special guests, man, and I'm so happy to have these 2 gentlemen.
Hey, real quick, man. You just said it's week 2 of the UFL, right? Mm-hmm. Can somebody tell Memphis fans that? Because it looks like I'm watching a USFL game on TV here, man. Where's everybody at? I thought they were excited about football this spring out in Memphis.
I don't know what's going on, man, but
I'm watching this game. I'm like, am I watching a replay of last year? The USFL on TV? Because I see no fans in the stands, man. Memphis, get it together, baby. Let's go.
Listen, y'all.
What's up, y'all?
We know a lot to talk about. We got 2 special guests, and we got an hour to do it. So, you already know what it is. Welcome to the Gridiron, baby. It's going down. Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome in. Happy Saturday to everyone. It's week 2 of the UFL, and this is the Gridiron, presented to you by Fuel and Pro Football Alliance, live on Fuel Sports Network, powered by Gateway City Sports. You can download your Fuel Sports Network channel on Roku and Amazon TV and devices. I am your host, Jerzey the King, Mr. JTK himself, and to my left, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the wicked one, the OG double G.
Damn, bro. Man, I feel like that, bro.
What's up, brother? Oh, he's out. He got some storm issues going on in there, man. But listen, y'all. Until Gabe comes back, listen, we got a packed show for you guys today. We got the doctor. The doctor, y'all. Former head coach of the Vegas Vipers, Dr. Anthony Blevins, will be joining us. And with that being said, hold on, y'all. I think Dr. Blevins is already here and ready to go with us. Good morning, doctor. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Gabe's having some technical difficulties. I'm going to remove him real quick. But right. Welcome into the show. Welcome to the Gridiron.
I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Definitely. Like I told you before we got started, I've been trying to get you on at least the Gridiron or the Fan Gang Nation show for a long time, and I'm blessed and honored to have you here. And joining us today, you may not know him, but his name is Evan Willsmore. He is a 19-year-old director of player personnel for the Indoor Football League's Vegas Knighthawks team. Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Willsmore. Welcome into the show, bro. How are you?
Good. I appreciate you having me on, taking the time, supporting our team. It's all good and well.
Awesome to have you here, man. If you guys don't know, like I said, we have the former head coach, still current head coach. Don't care what nobody says, because Vegas is coming back. Doggone it. We're coming back. And I hope and pray that, Coach, you are the coach for us moving forward when Vegas does come back to the UFL. But we have Dr. Anthony Blevins in the house and Evan Willsmore here joining us today. And we're going to talk a lot of football. We're going to get into what the IFL is all about. For those of you who do not know what the IFL is, it's the Indoor Football League. And we're going to catch up on what Doc has been doing, what Coach Blevins been doing. You know what I mean? So I hope you guys are ready. Now, Evan's going to join us for the entirety of the show. I'm waiting for Gabe to come back in. He's having some technical difficulties. There's a storm out there in Las Cruces right now, so he's having some weather issues, but we'll have him back in a second. But Evan, thank you for joining us today. I know that you've got a busy schedule being the director of player personnel. Coach Blevins, I know you're a busy man, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I want to jump right into it.
Right.
How did you get into coaching after your playing days were done? Because a lot of people don't know. I did a lot of research. You played in the original iteration of the XFL.
I did. I did. I played when the Vince McMahon version, the NBC, all of that. So I played with the Birmingham Thunderbolts. I was there. Jerry DiNardo was the head coach, and you know, it was really, really fun, you know, but for me, unfortunately, I tore my knee up. It was an ACL, MCL, PCL at the same time. And so that was really kind of the last time I played any type of football professionally. And, you know, I tried to work and get back. And then as you get older and, you know, you just transition off into the next deal. But really, long story short, how I really got into coaching was a guy, James West. So I had coached at Alabama State for 1 year, and he was the D-line coach. And even further than that, I met James. I was playing in the RFL, Regional Football League, down in Mobile, Alabama, played there. And James was the D-line coach. So James is a former CFL player in the Hall of Fame in the CFL, in the Ring of Honor up in Winnipeg, just an unbelievable human being. And, you know, we got kind of close during that time when he was coaching, and he just always said, you should coach. I think you should coach. You know, I think that's your calling. You know, you're smart. You can get everybody lined up. You can do this, you can do that. And, you know, so after the season, we won the championship. And after the season, I'm back in Birmingham, my hometown. And he calls me and he says, hey, I've just taken a head job at Alabama State University. Or not the head job, but taking a D-line job at Alabama State University. And we're looking for a DB coach. Would you be interested? And, you know, and I jumped on the opportunity, went down there, and that was my first introduction to coaching, coached that season. And it was really, you know, I had a great time. But after that, I got out of it. You know, I did some other things, tried to return to playing, you know, did corporate America. And, you know, and then, you know, I met some people that there was a guy, George Pugh, who coached me at UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. And he had left UAB, went to University of Arkansas. And I was actually trying to start playing again and did a workout. It was some guys from the University of Arkansas. So we started talking about George, and it was like, where is he now? Because he had left Arkansas. And eventually, you know, there's somebody that's like, he's in Alabama. Somebody says he's in Atlanta. You know, somebody said he's in Dallas, whatever the case may be. And then eventually I got his number and I called him. At the time I was living in Atlanta, and he had just taken a head high school job in Atlanta, Georgia. And I called him. He offered me to come coach for him. I was like, no, I'm done with coaching. I don't want to do this anymore. You know, at the time I was doing some real estate investing and some personal training, and life was pretty good at that point for me. And so I went up there one day, went up to the high school, and just kind of hung around with him, ate some lunch, and we ended up, just the time we had spent, it just flew by. So in the afternoon, I'm still there, and his kids start coming in for workouts in the afternoon. And at that point, he had only hired one coach, so it was him and another guy, and basically with 40 or 50 kids running around. And I was like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll help you until you get your staff hired. And I ended up doing it about 2 weeks, and that was it. That was, I fell in love with the coaching bug at that particular point in time. And the rest of it's history. I just kind of took it, did high school for 2 years, was a grad assistant at Mississippi State with Sylvester Croom, who was the first African-American head coach in the SEC at that particular point in time. And then I've just been blessed along my journey, to be honest with you. Just been around really good people for the most part, people that I really enjoy, and people I'm still close with in a lot of instances to this day.
Awesome, man. That's a story. That is a story, man. And to see your journey, how was it like coaching in the NFL?
It was great. It really was good, but it was still about the relationships. It was still about the people, and everything we do it always comes back to people. When you're around good people, it makes it easy, makes it fun. Arizona was my first NFL team, the Arizona Cardinals. Went out there in 2013 under head coach Bruce Arians, and we had a great time. I mean, we had a really, really good time out there, won a bunch of games. Bruce is, in the 5 years we were out there, Bruce is the winningest head coach in Cardinals history, I think he won over the course of 5 years, won 50 games over the course of 5 years, NFC championship game in that. We had a good time, but, he set the tone, he set the culture, he hired really good coaches. Todd Bowles, one of them, Mike Caldwell, who's actually the linebacker coach there in Vegas now, was the DC in Jacksonville the last couple of years. So we had a really, 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 really good staff, out there.
Definitely. Gabe, you got anything for him? Evan, you got anything for him?
Actually, so when you're looking at you coaching up at the NFL level, and then of course you're talking about spring football, with the XFL. What are the differences? I mean, obviously the NFL is a much bigger stage. The markets that you were in were obviously a lot, covered a lot more highly, and the expectations. But in terms of preparation and week to week, and the guys that you bring in, is there a lot of big differences?
As far as preparation, no. I mean, first down, second down, third down, and the same things that you talk about in the NFL are the same, truths that hold true in whether it's high school, Pee Wee, college, whatever, blocking, technique, fundamentals, getting off blocks, making the plays that are there for you. So it always comes back to technique and fundamentals. And if you remember that on any level, and I don't care what sport it is, if it's basketball, if it's baseball, football, whatever it is, it's going to always come back to the techniques and fundamentals, and then I truly believe that. So there's not a lot of difference in how you prepare. There's some differences in the players, obviously, being in, NFL, some of these guys in the UFL, XFL, USFL, they're really good players. They're really talented. They just need time to play, to understand the game on a higher level. And this is their opportunity to do that. And spend a year in this league, a year, just playing the game, on a professional level, it can make all the world of difference when they get their shot to play in the NFL. I think there's been a lot of guys. What's the returner in Dallas? Kevontae Turpin.
Kevontae Turpin. Yeah.
Yeah. He got his opportunity and just, took off with it, and there's been there's a couple instances like that where guys just needed an opportunity to play, to get more film, to learn a little bit more, to get maybe a little bit stronger, a little bit faster. Those are the instances that where these type of leagues, the XFL, UFL, have been good for players.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and a couple of weeks ago, I did an interview with Caleb Van Der Esch of the Arlington Renegades, and it was interesting to hear from him about talking about it from a player's perspective. And he's we're talking about the importance of spring football as related to the NFL, and it's almost like exactly what you just said. He says, it keeps guys busy, it helps them keep developing their game, and it keeps us with film. And then he said almost the same thing. He said, as long as you understand and remember everything you've been taught from when you started playing football, he says, and you bring that to the field at any level, he says, you'll be ready to go and at least ready to kind of get out there and keep developing as a player. So I kind of just hearing what you just said just reminded me of that a little bit.
Right. Definitely. Hey, Evan, you got anything for Coach?
But I think the one question I was going to ask was just like, and you kind of already answered it, but just in terms of, NFL talent compared to, XFL or UFL talent, like, did you think there was any discrepancy? I guess the better question now would be, did you think that the rosters in a league like the XFL, or UFL, whatever you want to call it now, would you say those were more diverse than the NFL just because there's always kind of been a saying in the NFL, you got to be the best of the best to play in that league. And you do get some of these stories, I think, every now and then of guys, who break through and who weren't supposed to be there. Like I was watching a video on Malcolm Butler the other day, a guy played D2, all that. But I just wanted to get your kind of grasp on, roster construction at the XFL level and what you saw, during your brief period of time there.
Well, like far as building a roster, I think it's, you got to find guys that can do multiple things. In order to, you think about the league, in order to stick around and be a quote unquote one trick pony, you've got to be really, really good. Like you've got to be exceptional. You've got to be Justin Jefferson, Larry Fitzgerald. You've got to be in that top tier of the roster. But everybody else has got to play, special teams, and special teams are important because usually a guy that's coming from the UFL, that's how he's going to break in first and foremost. He's going to break in through a kicking game. And if you can't play in the kicking game, but you're going to be the fourth or fifth wideout, you're not going to be the fourth and fifth wideout if you're not playing on special teams. You're going to be the sixth or seventh wideout, and you're going to be out the door because there's a limited spots. Like on the NFL, it's 53 on the active, and then there's another. I forget what the practice squad number is now. I think it's 14 or something like that. But you want to be active because let's be honest, there's a big difference in money between practice squad and active roster, and
oh yeah,
and it comes down to money. So in this league, there's an active roster of 50, but on game day there's 42 active. I believe it's 42 in the UFL. So you want to be in that 42. You don't want to be in that. You don't want to be in that 43 to 50 spot. The guys that aren't dressing. But there's a big difference in money, even in the UFL. So you got to find guys that can do multiple things, play multiple spots, that can be creative. Like in Vegas's team last year, Brian Burt was a guy that fit that mold, was a running back, could play receiver. So you could create multiple roles with him by being creative about how you built, things for him, build the package for him. He can play running back. You hand it off to him, put him in the backfield, motion him out, get a mismatch on a linebacker. And now he was a receiver in college. Now he's running routes on a linebacker. So the more things you can do, the better off and the more value you create for yourself. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, before we go any further, let me jump into a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more with Dr. Blevins and Evan Willsmore. We're going to learn a little bit more about Evan and his journey and where he is now. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, guys.
Same great taste. Yes, same great taste.
Hit for my wins, I need my ends. This life is real, and play pretend. Hey, motherfucker.
The king, of course, to my left is OG Double G, Gabe Garcia, and we have Evan Willsmore and Dr. Anthony Blevins in the building with us today. Welcome in again, guys. Thanks for being here. And before we went to break, we got to really learn a lot about Dr. Blevins. I still call him Coach. Okay, y'all, because he's coming back. Believe that. But now
it's always coach. It's always coach.
It's always gonna be coach. You know what I mean? But now we're gonna get to know a little bit more about Evan, because Evan's story, if you guys don't know, I actually know. Okay, I did my damn research and I watched some stuff. Okay, Pat Ruffino, thank you, bro. Oh. Yeah, yeah. I paid a lot of attention to that, man. And Evan has a remarkable story. So I want to go ahead and give you this time to just let people know who you are and where you came from and how you got to where you are, Evan.
Yeah, man. I mean, my story is definitely a unique one. I mean, as you pointed out, Jerzey at the top of the show, I turned 20 this upcoming week. So not like I'm very young, but I still like to think that I have a lot of experience. So yeah, man, grew up in San Diego, California. Did all my, schooling through high school out there. That's, just where I grew up. Had a great run out there, and then, was looking for a change of pace in life. So decided to go to college at LSU, which is where I'm at right now. Go Tigers, even though we just lost to Iowa, unfortunately. Not going to get into women's basketball on this, but, yeah, man. So still proud of our team, though. Still proud of our team. But yeah, man, came out here to LSU, studying sport management. Had an opportunity when I first got out here to Louisiana to scout for the Hula Bowl. That was kind of the first official thing I ever did with scouting. Got to go to a couple of games out here at Tulane and Southern and UL, and it was a great time. Got to meet some guys that are already in the NFL, like Tajay Spears down at Tulane. Got to interact with him, and a couple guys that are on their way. Michael Pratt, Jaquan Jackson, again, both Tulane guys. UL had a couple too, but so that was my first, scouting experience, I guess. And then last year, in 2023, I got more involved with the XFL, which I had been covering for a few years up to that point. But I had a chance to, be a media member and go to some of the XFL games with credentials, do proper reporting. Because, while I was also really interested in the scouting and personnel side of football, I was also doing a lot of journalism and media. So I covered the Houston Roughnecks, went out to all those home games. That's kind of where my following came from, I think, was through my work with that. And again, developed, I don't know if a fan base is the right word, but again, a loyal following who appreciated what I did for the league, and had a great time, met some great players and coaches. And I still hold a lot of those guys close now. A lot of them have since gone over to the Brahmas in San Antonio, following in the steps of Wade Phillips, but did that last year. It was a great time. And after that, I had such a good time. I kind of decided, maybe my journalism career had kind of reached its peak. I didn't think it was going to get better than that. So wanted to explore more options in the scouting world again, kind of went back on that, did my homework there. And I was looking at a lot of CFL teams initially, and, realized I maybe wasn't qualified for that right away, but still something that I'd like to do in the future. So stepped back a bit, found the Indoor Football League. I had known about them through their partnership with the XFL. I had been to one game before in San Diego back when I was living out there, the strike force of the team in San Diego. So I went to one of those games. Funny enough, it was actually against the Knighthawks back in their inaugural season.
In their first season,
funny how things work out. But yeah, man, reached out to a lot of IFL teams, got some responses. But when Mike Davis gave me a call back in Vegas, I knew that was a great spot to be. And Mike himself, who's the head coach and GM of our team, worked himself in the CFL for a number of years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and also had a year with the Toronto Argonauts, even though they didn't play in 2020. That was the COVID year. But he had some experience and just felt like that was a great guy to learn from. So got on board with them. I guess first, before that, I went to the IFL XFL Combine out there in Las Vegas, which Mike was he helped run that, since that's kind of his expertise. He did a lot of the free agent camps when he was working in the CFL. You know, they have some stuff for guys here in the States. So he helped set that up. I got to meet him out there, and then a couple days later, got that job. That was August of last year. So yeah, ever since then, man, I guess I've been doing this for 8 or 9 months now. Just been working through the off season to help put the roster together with him, and now we're here. We're 2 games into our season, currently undefeated. So life's good, man. You can't complain when your team's winning.
Definitely, and like I said, I'm excited about the Knighthawks season. They're starting off 2-0, and they got a monster at quarterback, man. Jerome Johnson. He's a bad dude. He can scramble and move around that pocket, and he has a good arm on him too. And then you got Quentin Randolph and those boys out there, man. Vegas has really got a squad. Now, one thing that a lot of people may not know about you, but you had a tough battle that you have went through in your life, am I not mistaken?
That'd be correct.
You battled Crohn's disease, is that right?
Yep. Yeah, man. That started probably maybe 2018, 2019. I've touched on this before. Definitely a difficult point in my life. And for those who don't know what Crohn's disease is, it infects your intestine. There's a lot of inflammation. Has to do with your blood cell count. So just causes a lot of discomfort. Hard to digest things. You don't get the same nutrients from what you eat. So obviously makes it difficult to have energy. And again, it was a battle for a couple of years. And again, something I dealt with through COVID. Unfortunately, I had surgery before I went to college. Actually, a year before I went to college, I had surgery that repaired a lot of that. So I'm doing a lot better now. And thank God for modern medicine, man, because without that surgery, I don't think I would have been able to do any of the stuff I've done, since I left, and, anything, whether it was scouting wise or journalism, all that would have, gone out the door. So happy that, we could at least fix things. Crohn's disease, there's no cure for it, right? So I say we fix things, but it's still there. It's something that you still got to figure out. And I know that there might be things down the road that I have to face, but, man, I kind of just live every day, as if, live life to the fullest type thing, right? I mean, I can't control what happens. You can only do so much, so I just kind of go out, man. And, I don't try and purposefully not think about it. I always know it's there. It's a part of me that I've owned up to, but, man, I just, go out and live every day. I don't let it hold me back, I guess is the best way to put it. I take these jobs and I travel around the country, I guess. I don't let it hold me back. And so far, that's been a pretty good strategy, I guess. So
that's what's up. Now, since we've got some background on both you gentlemen, we have a huge week 2 preview of week 2 preview of the XFL, but a week 4 preview of the UFL, or excuse me, the IFL. I'm sorry. Now, right now, currently, Memphis is showboating in this game against the Brahmas, which is a little surprising to me because I'm rooting for the Brahmas to win this game. So don't make me look bad. But
I told you last week, Jerzey, don't overreact off of week 1. You know better than that.
Now, there are major differences in these 2 different spring football leagues because, Evan, it is safe to say that the indoor football league is a spring football league, correct?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Indoor spring football league. Now, Coach, you know about the outdoor game. You know that through and through, back of your hand. You know what I mean? There's a lot of differences with the indoor game. Now, Evan, can you kind of give us a little little I guess you could say insight on what the major differences of the indoor game is compared to the outdoor game?
Sure, man. I mean, over the past couple months, I've honestly been trying to get acclimated with a lot of the rules. And now that I've been to a couple games, it's a bit easier to see. My job is personnel, so I worry more about the players than I do about the flow of the game. But no, man, I mean, the biggest, obviously, difference between indoor football and outdoor football is the size of the field. We got a 50-yard field in indoor football. Obviously, when you step into the arena, it's noticeable that it's going to be a bit different if you haven't been to a game. You're playing essentially on a hockey arena or a basketball arena, usually a hockey arena, but we use ours for both. So that's obviously the biggest difference, 50-yard field. And that's what makes the game a lot quicker, is when you've only got half the field length, guys are going to be scoring a lot more as long as you've got the right offense in place. So that's why, sometimes, I mean, you just had the betting lines pulled up. I think a lot of people are surprised, again, who haven't watched the league or these games before, why those point totals are so high. But, typically, I mean, if you're not scoring minimum 30 points a game in the IFL, that's typically a sign that your offense is pretty slow. I mean, the best teams are putting up, 50 or 60 a game, and you get these pretty intense shootouts. And I think one of the coolest parts about the league is, I always thought one of the best parts in any realm of football was, those crunch time situations, like in the NFL when you're inside the 2-minute warning. You got to put something together. I mean, that's where that I think really separates winners from losers, right? But in the IFL, I mean, you could have 30 seconds left on the clock, and even if it's a 10-point difference, I mean, you're not safe. And I think a lot of the guys who, and we'll kind of get into guys transitioning maybe from outdoor to indoor later, but I think some of these guys are a bit surprised at how fast the game is. They get there and they realize, like, it's not 30 seconds on the clock, you're up 10 in most situations in another league. I mean, victory formation, you're taking the knee, but it doesn't work like that all the time in the IFL. I mean, that thing goes all the way down to the clock hits zero. So
now, Coach Blevins, I think I misspoke. Am I right? You played in the Arena Football League?
I did. Played with the Birmingham Steel Dogs. Yeah, so I do have some familiarity with arena football. It's been a while. That was probably 2000. I don't know, around 2000, somewhere in there, when I played. But so I do have some familiarity with indoor football.
Now, compared to the outdoor game, playing on a 100-yard field, like Evan said, there's a whole 50-yard difference. Plus, you got the dasher boards or the wall on the outside. What is, since you had experience playing on both the outdoor and indoor level, what is the major difference for you, or what was the major difference for you in the two, leagues?
Just the size of the field and the space. I mean, that was the big thing was and the one thing, like, people talk about those dasher boards or whatever they're called. They're hard. That's hard home. Like, it's not like, it doesn't cushion the blow. Like, I mean, it hurts, like when you hit those walls. I mean, it really is like hockey, So, I mean, but for me, it was just the spacing issues within the game. You just don't have the space, sideline space, end zone space. You don't have any of that type stuff. And, I've seen, people flip over in the stands and, fall on chairs and, get compound fracture of your legs. And, to me, I think it's a more dangerous game than the outdoor game because of the speed and the space or lack of space in the indoor game.
Yeah, I would imagine that you would have to just, watching the game myself, as a viewer, that, like, for the players themselves, you really have to develop your game a little bit because of the lack of space. Like, if you're a receiver, to be able to win off the line immediately, like you don't have that room to try to go and work the defense, work the cornerbacks and the defensive backs a little bit. So, and I do, Coach Blevins, I see those guys hit that hit that foam, and I'm like, you could just like, okay, yeah, that hurts. It doesn't look like it's something that's padded enough to where it's not hugging you and saying that's all right, stand back up, I got you.
Yeah.
No, man, you see those guys, they run right into that wall, and you can
some
tell
of them
hurt,
brace for it. I noticed some of those guys, they brace for it. Like they've gotten Evan in the game the last Vegas Knighthawks game when Quentin caught that touchdown. He went up for the ball and he knew he was going to hit the wall, and it was like he was just prepared for it. It wasn't like he was looking down or anything like that. He was just prepared for it, and it's like you got to train your body for that. You know what I mean? And like you said, Coach, it seems like it's a more dangerous version of the game of football because of those dasher boards, because it's a shorter field. Now, Evan, what's up with the 2 men in motion? Because if you notice, there's always, I don't know if you guys, whoever watches indoor football league out there that's watching, in the game of indoor football league, or in the game of arena football, indoor football, and the indoor style, there's two receivers that can go in motion. How is that different? And how does that affect play calling for coaches?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, again, I don't have a ton of coaching experience specifically, but what I can tell you is, that's something that you also see that in the CFL, where guys motion before the snap, they run up. They'll give you I feel like a decent amount of leeway. Guys will get, penalized if they move, however many yards forward too much. And that happened to us in the first game, I remember. But, very similar to what you see in the CFL. The IFL has actually adopted a handful of CFL rules. And even if some of them maybe aren't direct, I always tell people that the IFL game, even if the field is way smaller, because CFL's actually got a bigger field than what we see here in America, but that's probably the closest comparison, that you'd have to any one of these, outdoor leagues or styles of play. And, it's actually funny because, one of our better receivers, our, oldest veteran, Caleb Hawley, played in the CFL for a number of years with Saskatchewan and Ottawa and Edmonton. And so he's been around. And, I think some guys who come into the league with that experience, especially at the receiver position, those guys might have an advantage. And that's definitely something that you look for from a scouting perspective. So, it's a good question, man. Again, one of those things where if you haven't watched the game before, I think you're very surprised. You're like, well, why are these guys, so far behind and they're moving before the snap? And is that going to be a penalty? Like, why are these guys false starting every play? But that's just the way the game works, man. And I think that it not only makes it look really interesting on TV, but I do think it's effective. I think, getting those guys running early, I think, on that size of field, I think that does present an advantage, So we've so far, I think we've done a good job of that, just given how our offense is played.
Because I notice also the receivers can only go 1 yard past the line of scrimmage before the quarterback can hike the ball before it's an offside or a false start or offsides. Is that correct?
Right. And that's what I was saying. Like, sometimes they'll give you leeway. Like, I've seen guys, like maybe 3 yards ahead and they just don't call it because it happens so fast. But the general rule is 1 yard. But a lot of that movement that you see before the snap is behind the line of scrimmage. Guys kind of, they get a bit of a jump, and then essentially from there, I mean, again, 1 yard, so you're a bit ahead, but you've already got that sort of warm-up. So it does make a difference, I think. Again, when you add in that size of the field, I think it's more noticeable. And as you watch the game more, I think a lot of people think it's gimmicky, when we do that. But I don't know. I feel like it does present some sort of benefit, in the league probably would have scrapped it by now. So,
right. Now, Coach, with hearing all this, any interest in starting to watch the IFL games? Because you can get them all on YouTube. They stream all the games on every game on YouTube, so it's free to watch. Would you be interested now in watching the current game compared to how it was when you were playing in the Arena Football League?
Well, I mean, I'm a football junkie, so I do, I watch, a ton of football. A lot of it's been outdoor football, but, I've got no issue with football, period, whether it's CFL, XFL, NFL, IFL. Football is football. And I like, I think you can learn something from my perspective. I can learn something from everybody, you find one play you like, or take something from the IFL. Obviously, like it's still eight man football type of deal. So you got to add other elements to it, But I mean, there's still ideas that you can take from different versions of the game. So yeah, so I'm a football junkie, so I'm kind of watching a little bit of this, a little bit of that, as this thing is
I kind of enjoy myself. I kind of enjoy seeing a lot of the differences in terms of the rules, learning a lot of the different rules. Like I said, I just started watching IFL. I used to watch arena football. I was a big Rattlers fan back in the day, and then just kind of went away from it. But now I'm getting back into it, and I love watching the rule differences and learning them. Because like Evan said, you kind of watch it at first, and you're like, what's he doing? That's illegal. And then you got to remember, wait, this isn't, NFL or, college football. Totally different set of rules, man, that you kind of have to learn and appreciate. And I got a question real quick for both of you. And this kind of goes to that. Y'all recently seen, how the NFL had their, they do the annual thing where they look over some rules and changes. And one of the big ones was the addition of the XFL format of the kickoff. And I want to know what both of you think of this because, Dr. Blevins, you brought up Turpin a while ago, Kavontae Turpin. And I got to look at this, and I'm thinking this dude has to be licking his chops right now because a return man like him, this XFL format is actually going to, I think, give him an opportunity to elevate his game with the Cowboys. So if you don't mind, we start with Dr. Blevins. What do you think? Do you feel the XFL format of kickoff, now that the NFL implementing it, is going to bring more excitement back to the kickoffs?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that because I recently just wrote an article, a piece for myself about this, and what it does, it's going to bring the kickoff and kickoff return back to the game.
Yes.
If you look at it over of course last year, 2023, I mean it was, I think when I did the research, 19 teams had a touchback percentage of 70% or more. I mean, there were no kickoff returns. Like TV broadcasts were routinely late to the play. And all you would see, return man standing back there on the goal line with his arms out to his side, signaling to his team, I'm not going to return it. So it brings an element back to the game that's been missing for, honestly, in my opinion, quite a few years. And it's an exciting play, and it brings, this is the play that gave us Devin Hester, really. This is the play that put Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame. I think he's going in the Hall of Fame, later this summer. So, and I get what the NFL is doing, the concussions, the injuries. I get that, wanting to make the game safer, and we should be making the game safer. And this is a play in the XFL version of the kickoff return makes it safer, but brings some excitement back to the game. So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be good for the game. It's going to, I think, the NFL coaches, special teams coaches, they're some of the most creative people in the entire universe. And they'll have some variations of things they'll do that'll make it an advantage for them and take advantage of the rule. But the low impact style of this play is going to be really good for the game once we get past the optics of what it looks like. I think that's for the traditional fan, it's going to be the optics of it. Why are they not on the 35-yard line? They're on the plus 40. Like the optics of it will be different. But once we get used to it, it's like anything else. We'll get used to it and we'll move on. And it's going to bring some fun back to the game.
Definitely will.
Evan, what do you think, Evan?
Yeah, man. I mean, I definitely agree with what Coach said. I mean, they're doing this for safety purposes. And the reality about kickoffs is, I don't have all the stats and analytical stuff in front of me, but you're only kicking off so many times per game, but the amount of injuries that you see on kickoffs, at least from my experience of watching the game, just over a couple years span, like in recent years, I feel like there always seems to be, like, there's probably more injuries than significant, kickoff returns. I'm not even talking about touchdowns. I'm just talking about guys actually taking the ball and advancing it out of the end zone. The one thing I will say about just the XFL kickoff is every time somebody brings this up, or just XFL rules in general, have to give a shout out to Sam Schwartzstein, who developed the XFL rules in 2020. He's currently working with Amazon Prime, doing some of their broadcasting stuff. You want to talk about innovators, for the game of football? I don't think that guy ever gets enough credit. Like, the NFL is implementing this new XFL kickoff, and no one seems to be bringing his name up. And I'm like, this was the guy who brought it into the league in 2020, and that was carried over along with several of his other, again, innovative rules into the 2023 edition of the XFL. Sam's done some great things for this game, and I think that the more credit that we can give him, the better, because he's a great guy. He played football himself at Stanford, I believe, with Andrew Luck. So hats off to Sam, man. I mean, this is really his project. So
definitely.
Awesome. Well said, gentlemen. Well said.
Definitely. Question by one of our viewers, Michael Lathrop, and he's also a director of marketing for Fuel Sports Network. My guy, Mike. He says different rules and styles of play can be appealing to fans. And I had to put this question up because it's a great question for both of you guys. But how much does it impact a player's ability to showcase themselves to coaches in other leagues like the NFL?
Like, honestly, I don't think the rules really make a difference. Like, your talent speaks for yourself. That's what we're that's what we're projecting. This guy will transition well into the NFL game because of XYZ, not because of the rules of the game. So I don't think the rules really matter. You can take college, for example, receivers, like 1 foot inbounds in college and 2 feet. Like, I don't think it makes a difference. That doesn't make a difference to me. Because, like, once you get to the league, I'm going to teach you the rules that apply to this game, not the other game, and so that's all coaching to me, to be honest with you.
Evan?
Yeah, I think that's right too. I mean, I think, I just look at, like, as someone who works in personnel, I can watch less than 2 minutes of film and tell, whether a guy's an athlete or not. And what's great about, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, here in a bit, but like, what's great about the league that I work in is we have a very diverse talent pool. I can look at guys from FBS, FCS, Division II, and it doesn't matter to me because I can just tell who's an athlete. It doesn't matter what rules we're playing with or, where guys came from. Like, if you can play, you can play. And that's always my thing. Now, again, with the indoor game, it's only 8v8, so there's a couple positions that just don't really exist, right? And like Coach Blevins was talking about earlier, it's important that when you're a player, again, you have to do multiple things. If you can't do more than one particular skill, then it's not going to be easy to sell. But I think man, like, in terms of like rule differences specifically, like, guys who can play, in my opinion, can play, and they will adjust to whichever set of rules are given to them. And again, that's done through really good coaching, and you'll see that too. So I'm 100% with Coach there.
Definitely. Now, I know the show's been a little unorthodox today. We're going to jump into our last commercial break before we end the show on Fuel. But how great this is going, we're definitely going to continue on social media. So make sure you guys don't go anywhere. But we'll be right back after this commercial break with more from Coach Blevins and Evan Willsmore. You guys stay right here. This is the Gridiron on Fuel Sports Network, powered by Gateway City Sports.
It's time I get in the game, forget the money and fame. Stay ready, making sure that they remember my name. I got a hunger inside, when the numbers are tied, yo, I'ma turn it up.
Houston, we've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing, time-sensitive payload is none other than the revolutionary energy flavor we've all been waiting for. Introducing Merc Mayhem Cherry Limeade. Merc Clan played a crucial role in securing this energy flavor, and together we've unlocked the future of power. Merc Mayhem is not just a drink, it's a statement, a fusion of relentless energy and bold flavor. The secret is out. Merc Mayhem is set to redefine the energy landscape, leaving ordinary drinks in its cosmic dust. Get ready for a taste explosion that matches Merc Clan's unparalleled power. Join the revolution, and let's unleash Merc Mayhem upon the world. Astronaut M signing off.
Live on Fuel Sports Network. I'm Jerzey the King. He is Double G Gabe Garcia. And of course, we still have Evan Willsmore and Dr. Anthony Blevins in the building. Make sure you guys use that save 10% code to get 10% off your W order for fuel. So make sure you guys go ahead and check
those out. For those following the game right now, man, Case Cook has just went out.
Yeah,
looks like he got an injury, man.
Yeah, and it's 13-0.
Yeah,
Memphis is up right now. They went to halftime with a 13-0 lead. They're coming out of halftime with a 13-0 lead. This is shocking to me. I didn't think that San Antonio was going to be held to no points. But
come on, dog.
It was a Memphis Showboats fan at the beginning or before the game. He was on the Fuel Tailgate kickoff show, and he chimed in and he said he predicted a 23-6 win by Memphis. And I said 6 points only? From the look of it, man, this defense is shutting down that offense of San Antonio. So it is a little bit
real quick, gentlemen. Let me ask you too. I've been preaching this all week long, man, with UFL fans. You know, in any level in the game, you never want to look too much into week one, right? Like, am I the only one that sees so much overreaction every single year with different leagues in week one? Because it bothers me sometimes, man. Teams are breaking off the rust. Coaches are figuring out what they're going to do in terms of game plan, what can work. Like, what is it about week one that is just constantly, and I'm talking about any league, just you get a lot of fool's gold in there. You know what I mean? Like Evan, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, first game is always tough. And in any league, I feel like the way that you start the season is never the way that you're probably going to finish the season, especially from a roster standpoint. We all know, and whether it's indoor or outdoor football, injuries are always going to, they're always going to play a role. Guys are going to have to go out. You're going to have to make some adjustments. So I feel like the teams that you saw last week, while I'm not saying that, I feel like some of those teams, did show what they're capable of. I feel like, some others, look at San Antonio right now. And, I love all those guys in San Antonio, but the reality is, I thought they were a wild card coming into the season. And just because they took down DC handedly last week, now they're playing, a Memphis team that's also very talented, but, it's not been the same result. So, I think that's just football, and some teams do get it together right out of the gate. They have a strong week one. They keep building off that, and they never look back. But, I think a great example last year, of a team, when you look at their week one versus how they finished the season, the eventual XFL champion Arlington Renegades. I remember week one, they were playing the Vegas Vipers.
Yes.
And, it was like Drew Plitt at quarterback, and nothing against Drew Plitt, but he was struggling out there. It was tough, and that was not a championship caliber team. And ironically, the quarterback that they were playing against on Vegas, Luis Perez, ended up being the quarterback that took them to the championship. So again, nothing's ever really finalized. Teams are always making adjustments, especially behind the scenes. And it doesn't matter whether it's like IFL or NFL. I'm sure, coach can relate to that, but any level of the game, you're going to have to make changes based on outcome because it's a winning business, right? At the end of the day, this is an entertainment business based off wins. And if you don't win games, that's when changes are made. So to me, it's pretty simple in that regard.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think week one, to answer your question, week one is a little bit different, from my perspective, being in the NFL, you have film from previous years and all that, but you don't know what's new, who's going to play. Like week one was always the hardest, trying to get a roster from, they're trying to make cuts, they're trying to add people. And it was always hard from that aspect, week one. Once you get to week two, week three, you kind of figure out what you are, and like for me, it was always in the league. Like I didn't think you really figured out what your team was until about week 4. All right, because you take, for example, you take a game where you win by 3 touchdowns week 1. The next week you lose by 2 touchdowns. Okay, who are we? I don't know. Are we the team that lost or the team won? I don't know. Then the next time you win another close game, you won another close game. Then you figure out, okay, we're a tough, resilient bunch. We got to play, really good situational football and be in the game in the fourth quarter. And you kind of figure it out and you kind of work through it. I think it's like an ongoing process. To Evan's point, it's kind of an ongoing process throughout the season. And, injuries happen, and who can adjust, who can, find the right pieces to fill in off the waiver wire. There's a lot of things that go into it, and then another thing, in like the UFL, you have like a month of training camp, which really 3 weeks of training camp. Then the last week is you kind of game planning. So, it takes some time, it takes some time, especially offensively. Offense is about timing, things like that. And you need that time. And unfortunately in this league, you don't have it. I think, both the two teams, San Antonio and Birmingham, won last week. They both scored 27 points in a win. I think both of them. Yes. Everything else was in the teens. All the other scores were in the teens. So it makes a difference, just the timing, and being able to coordinate everything and get it together and get everybody on the same page, from verbiage to understanding what's going on. So,
Definitely. I definitely agree with you, Coach, because you, like you said, you could win a game in week 1, lose a game in week 2, win another close one in week 3, lose another close one in week 4. You know what I mean? And it's like you're still trying to find that identity, but then you got some of those teams who they come out of the gate and could be that team that is just nonstop winning, and they know who they are from the jump. But then you got those teams who come out of the gate, start the season off 0-4, 0-5, but then after that 0-5 start, you could see a 10-game win streak. You know what I mean? And it could happen at any, like the movie, or the quote, the title of the movie is 100% correct. Any given Sunday. You know what I mean? A team come out and be that team to beat and look like the most polished team in the league, San Antonio, who's currently down 13 points after doing what they did to DC last week, but they're playing a better opponent this week. And like you said, it matters. You know what I mean? That your opponent matters. Their game plan matters. You know what I mean? Knowing your identity comes full circle when it comes to this game. You know what I mean? Having to know your identity comes full circle when it comes down to it. Being on that field, game time, you know what I mean? In those different situations in the game or during the game, you know what I mean? You have to be able to think on a dime, like for some receivers. I looked at some of these receivers last week, and some of them you could tell that they were ready to go. There was a play for St. Louis game. There was a play that AJ McCarron threw the ball to Sailors, and we were talking about this earlier this week on a different show. And Sailors, the way he ran his route, he took too many steps for one. And I know this because I played wide receiver back in high school, and he took too many steps in his route. And when he made his cut, the cut wasn't, like one of those swift, stiff cuts, real quick. You know what I mean? You stuck your foot in the ground, you made that move real quick to where the defender barely knows where you're at, type of thing. And you shook the defender out of his shoes. But AJ McCarron, it was like Gabe was saying earlier this week on the Hellraiser show, it was like he was thinking of it in the NFL timing. He was, the way he threw that ball, it was more of an NFL timing type of thing for him. But the receiver was off, and the pass was off. Everything was just off about the play. I say all that to ask this: are there some players in the UFL who have NFL experience, such as AJ McCarron, who still have to transition a little bit, especially if they were playing in the league last year or at least on a roster last year? Is there a transition that they still have to make going from the winter league, to the spring league and the speed of the game?
I think there's always a transition because there's always people that you play with, and there's communication that goes into it, Well, I was with this team and we ran the route at 10. Well, we want to run it at 12. Well, you run it at 10, the quarterback's throwing it at 12, you get an interception, So there's always a transition period that happens, and I don't care what league it is or NFL or whatever, like there's always going to be that trust factor, getting to know somebody, getting to know how do I get to this spot at this time, because the ball's going to be here at this particular time at this particular point. And so yeah, I think there's always, to answer your question, I think there's always some transition that has to take place, some growth that has to take place, and some trust that has to be built within the process of getting to a new team, regardless of its NFL, UFL, IFL, CFL, whatever.
Right, definitely. Evan, Gabe, do you guys have any more questions before we let Coach
just alluding to what you were just talking about? And I don't think it's just like an NFL player. Like you look at, I think being a veteran makes a big difference. Whether you're on a different team, like we saw last week, Jerzey. I was telling you this last week that I felt that while players like AJ McCarron, came on later in the game last week, of all the quarterbacks in the UFL in week 1, it looked to me like Luis Perez was really the one from the opening kickoff that was comfortable. There was a little bit of rust on some of the throws, but I think a lot of that, like you look at AJ McCarron, you mentioned him, Jerzey. When you got new receivers, and it's like Evan and Coach Blevins both said, it's timing. That stuff has to be worked out. The chemistry has got to get there. Receivers, even if you have a veteran quarterback there, he's expecting the receiver to be there, for wherever he's landing the ball. So I really feel like when you have a guy like, Luis Perez, who was coming in off of a championship, and he was in Arlington second half of last season, and you have a guy like AJ McCarron, it's much easier for a team when they have a returning quarterback already in the scheme, in the system with the coaches, to pretty much find his comfort zone, as opposed to when you're looking at, with Memphis, with Cookus and guys who, they're going to get it. How soon they get it, though, that's the question.
Definitely. Coach Blevins, last thing for you.
Okay.
What does the future hold? If you can give us just a little insight, though. I know we don't want to, speak too much about possible UFL expansion or anything to that nature, but seeing you on the sideline, anywhere, any league, is that in the future?
That's definitely in the future. It's some I've talked to I talked to a few teams this off season back in the NFL. Nothing really fell my way, but coaching is definitely in my future. Where, when, that's the question, that I like to figure out the answer to as well. But that's definitely in the future. This is kind of my calling, and we'll see what happens, as things kind of move forward and progress forward. But definitely, I'm not done coaching. I'm not retiring or anything like that. That's not the case, So yeah, so we'll kind of figure it out as we go along. As time passes, we'll kind of figure that out. So
you don't want to.
Hey, we'd love to. love the hat. And I will say, I thought Vegas had the best logo, best colors of the league last year. So I was really excited for the opportunity last year. So.
Definitely.
So we'll see
you got to give my boy Jerzey a home again, man, because I cover the Renegades. I'm a Renegades fan, so we had to kind of adopt him this year because he didn't have a home with a fan base. And he's like, this is temporary, because he has it in him. He says the Vipers are coming back. They are coming back. So
even though we don't have Viper Snakes in Vegas, DJP, we got Viper Snakes in Vegas if that's what's going to bring back the team.
well, I'm not a snake guy, so
hey, I ain't either. But if that's
Hey,
if that's
Evan, a question for you, man. Just hearing your journey, Evan, and everything, and where you've been able to come up to now, and your status within the IFL. You're still young, man, and that is a great thing. That is a great thing because, like you said, you've got some experience now. For somebody of your age.
Hold on, Gabe. Before you answer that, Evan, let's let Coach go. Let's end the show on fuel really quickly because we're going over our fuel time. But I know, Coach, I know you got some things to do. But Evan, I definitely want to get more in with you and talk some more IFL so we can break down some rules and things of that nature because I wanted to really get some IFL talk out this week. But we're going to end the show on fuel, y'all. Coach Blevins, I want to thank you so much, man. I'm blessed. I am honored. I really, really am. Like I told you, I was doing everything I could to try to get you on the Fan Gang Nation show because I know we would have had thousands of Viper fans watching. But I want to thank you for taking the time out today and spending a whole hour with us, man. Let everybody know where they could find you on social media.
Right. And I actually got to look up on my social media. So I'm on X at DocBPhD33. That's my X feed. LinkedIn is I think Anthony Blevins PhD, Anthony Blevins PhD, PH.D. That's me on LinkedIn, and then those are probably the two biggest platforms. Instagram, I forgot about Instagram. AB518 is my Instagram handle, AB518. So those are the three where I'm at. So look forward to catching up and talking. But I really appreciate you guys having me on and giving me an opportunity to meet you guys, network with you guys, and man, best of luck. Anything I can do to help, definitely feel free to reach out.
Definitely, we will. I will definitely be hitting.
Thank you, Dr. Blevins.
I can ask you to please, if you have a Roku TV, an Amazon TV, Roku stick, or Fire Stick, download the Fuel Sports Network app, and you can catch all of our shows that cover football and more sports to come. So if that's one thing we could ask you to do for us here at Fuel and at the Gridiron is to, download the channel and let everybody know where they can find us, you know what I mean? And then check out, the Fuel Sports Network, because we're trying to become the main outlet for alternative professional sports to where people can come and find content, so just let everybody know about Fuel, tell them to come follow us, come check out our channel and help us grow into a television network.
Hey, we'll do.
All right. Thank you again, Coach. Man, you have a wonderful day. Evan, we're going to have a lot to talk to you about in just a moment. We're going to take a quick commercial break. I want to thank you for, spending the time with us and getting a chance to meet Coach Blevins as well. I know that was probably something that you've always wanted to do as well, but we're going to take a real quick commercial break, guys. We're going to come back and it's IFL talk. It's time for the indoor war. And I'm going to let Evan explain to y'all a little bit more about what the indoor war is when we come right back on the Gridiron, presented to you by Fuel.
Same great taste. Yes. Same great taste. Same great taste.
Houston, we've triumphed. I've made it back to Earth with the cargo intact. The game-changing, time-sensitive payload is none other than the revolutionary energy flavor we've all been waiting for. Introducing Merc Mayhem Cherry Limeade. Merc Clan played a crucial role in securing this energy flavor, and together we've unlocked the future of power. Merc Mayhem is not just a drink, it's a statement, a fusion of relentless energy and bold flavor. The secret is out. Merc Mayhem is set to redefine the energy landscape, leaving ordinary drinks in its cosmic dust. Get ready for a taste explosion that matches Merc Clan's unparalleled power. Join the revolution and let's unleash Merc Mayhem upon the world. Astronaut M signing off.
I am Jersey King. He is Double G Gabe Garcia in the building with us still. My man Evan Willsmore, Director of Player Personnel for the Indoor Football League's Vegas Knighthawks. And again, thank you for staying on with us. I do apologize to those of you who are watching on the Fuel YouTube channel. My bad. I did not mean to turn us off there, but I accidentally did. That's my bad. I was trying to turn us off on Fuel on the network and ended up turning us off on both. So I do apologize. Watch us on Pro Football Alliance or on the Facebook. My bad. Okay, I'm sorry. But all right. So Gabe, this is what we've been waiting for. This is why I've been pressing you to learn or not even just learn, but watch the IFL. Okay, because there's a lot of changes now, Evan. As far as the rules go in the IFL, can you give us a little breakdown of the differences, like the major differences that the IFL has or indoor football has compared to outdoor football?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think some of the major differences you'll see are in the kicking game. The IFL has, I mean, the biggest rule change, I think, from, I mean, at least the special teams perspective, there's a couple others, but the main one that I'll focus on is the deuce, where if you, kick the ball through the uprights on kickoff, which is possible just with the short length of the field, it's worth 2 points. So kind of like a field goal unofficially, but not really. That's definitely a noticeable rule change. I think a lot of people are surprised about that. Not necessarily a rule change, this one, but like you'll see like teams like kick from their own end zone, like attempt a field goal from their own end zone, again, just because of the length of the field. So I definitely think that's one, to focus on. And then some of the other rules, I mean, I know we talked about, the pre-snap motion for the receivers and things like that. I mean, just visually, the game is so different compared to what you'd see traditionally. And I think, especially for, I mean, if you want to stay on receivers, like, guys, like everyone's like, everyone always talks about, 1 feet in or 2 feet in, I mean, not really possible when there's no sideline, when you've got like
Right.
the boards and the walls and guys are just kind of, going over, and you got to make sure you can control it. So, I mean, there's rule differences compared to the outdoor game for sure. I'm sure a lot of the indoor coaches who have been around this for a lot longer than I have can explain it better. But just the flow of the game in general, man. And again, some of that stuff we've already talked about, but some of that stuff, I think, you see it really quickly. And again, it just makes the game faster paced, and it fits, I think, what we're trying to do from a league standpoint.
Definitely, man. Definitely. Gabe, you have anything as far as, the IFL difference, game wise, and being that Evan is working with the players directly, is there anything you have, that you want to ask him, especially about like his relationship with the players?
Well, actually, it's more of about, when you're looking about players, what are you guys in turn? Okay, let's talk about, you were talking about the rules of the game, and obviously there's just a certain type of player that's going to excel at this. So when you guys are out there and you're looking at talent, and what exactly are you looking for that you probably would be looking deeper into in terms of the talent pool than, let's say, if you were up for the standard pro game?
Sure. I mean, again, like I was saying, 8v8 football, some positions are just kind of eliminated. So I think the general idea or category is that you want players to be able to do multiple things, and I mean, the more, diverse you are, the better, whether you're a receiver or a D lineman, can you play in multiple different spots? I'd say on the lines, it's pretty, important. Like if you're a guard, can you also play center and vice versa? Because we've only got 3 linemen. So, guys rotating in and out is kind of important. So just things like that. And then on a deeper level, like without getting too technical, like, I did a lot of work with the offensive and defensive line throughout the offseason. And, you want to have guys, especially on the defensive line, you want to have heavier guys and, not just all guys that have played interior, but, typically guys that have these, hybrid edge or outside linebackers. Like I feel like minimum that we're looking for, when it comes to guys rushing, at D-line is 260, ideally closer to 270 or 280. And we have our big interior guy, Lee Autry, who's about 305. And he's the brother of Nico Autry, who is currently with the Houston Texans.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's kind of our guy that weighs down the line, and then we've got a couple different options, to put on either side of him. But yeah, man, I mean, just little tendencies like that. The thing is, with the IFL in particular, again, that version of arena football, I guess, because indoor and arena football are kind of two different things. I won't go into that distinction too much just for time's sake, but like I was talking about earlier, the IFL is a bit more comparable to the outdoor game. So it is, I think, in some cases easier for guys to adjust than if they were going to like the AFL or the NAL. But, I mean, I've heard a lot of players that come into our league, especially guys with, maybe a high college or NFL pedigree. Not that there's a ton of those guys, but there's certainly some of them, excuse me. Those guys, I think the adjustment is harder for them in some cases than they might expect. And that's the reality about the indoor game, is that because there's so many differences, a lot of which that we've already talked about, some of these guys think that they can just come in and dominate because there's less players and the talent pool, isn't the same. But some of the guys who stick around in this league, and, that's becoming a bit different now just with the way that the IFL, they changed their veteran rules around a bit. Again, won't get into that a ton for time's sake. But generally speaking, the guys who do stick around in this league have a really good grasp on it. And it's no different, in my opinion, than the veterans in the NFL who just figure out techniques. They can read offenses or defenses in a number of seconds. And those guys, there's guys in this league that have built, very lengthy careers, very admirable careers, and they stick around. And, I don't think a lot of people realize that, again, especially because you're seeing, I think, more turnover in a lot of these leagues, not just the IFL, but any league outside of the NFL. Like the UFL, through the merger, all the rosters there are different for the most part. I mean, certain coaches will retain players, but you get the idea. So I think generally, just, I mean, not to get too off track, but yeah, man, like, there's, I look for certain types of players at certain positions, as all scouts do, but at the same time, I'm very open. I talked a lot about diversity, and I don't really care where you come from. It's just a matter of, what you can do when you're here. Like, we've had in the past, before I got there, a number of guys on our team who had played at the NFL level, Darius Geis, Robert Nakamdiche, Matt Elam, some of these guys that were drafted high, into the NFL. And the reality is those guys probably weren't the best players on the team, and it's no disrespect to them. It's just, those guys, again, it's an adjustment for them. They're coming from such a different space. And, again, with some of these guys that have played in the league for so long, I mean, it doesn't matter where you came from at that point. It just matters how much you know in that given moment. So
definitely, most definitely. So real quick here, these games coming up this week, we got Northern Arizona and the San Antonio Gunslingers, which we know, as I stated last week, the Gunslingers actually just made their IFL debut last week. And I apologize, it was not the Bay Area Panthers, which I stated on the Jersey the King show on Thursday. It's not the Bay, or Tuesday or Thursday, one of these days. It wasn't the Bay Area Panthers that they lost to. It was the San Jose Strike Force that they played and lost to in a close game last week. But they have a home opener. Do you think the Gunslingers can come in today in this game with their home opener being here? Do you think they have a chance to really, with the way they played last week, because they looked really, really good last week? Do you think they have a chance to win this game at home and start their season off 1-1?
Well, it'll be interesting. San Antonio, interestingly enough, I'll definitely have my eyes on that game because that's who we play next week. But,
Yes, it
San
is.
Antonio is one of the two new teams in the league this year that came over from the NAL, the other being Jacksonville, who coincidentally we played last week. San Antonio's got a great team, from a roster perspective. Their quarterback, Sam Castronova, one of these guys who knows the indoor arena game really well. Tom Menace, great coach, he was with the Albany Empire last year, I think, in the NAL and is now taken over here. They've got a lot going for them. I think that, they are in a good position to compete in this league, but I do think it's a learning curve. The reality is the NAL had less teams, and some of the guys that they carried over from that league last year, I think, are still getting used to the pace, and there's a lot more going on. And I'm not saying the NAL is a bad league, and I know a lot of guys over there. And look, I know the structure over in the NAL this year is a bit different, just with some of the teams that have come and gone, and there's been a lot of restructuring, especially with the rebranded AFL coming back, which
Right.
I don't know how much we'll get a chance to talk about that. But anyway, San Antonio, again, being a new team, I like what they have. Having played Jacksonville last week, you see that learning curve a bit. But, Jacksonville was a good team. They won the NAL championship last year for a reason. And their coach, Jason Gibson, is someone that I respect. So I feel like even if these teams are newcomers, they're there, they're here for a reason. They were brought in to the IFL because – the higher ups in the league believe that they could compete. And so far, San Antonio, they had that close loss to San Diego. And I also watched a bit of that game, but they played really well. They're here for a reason. And I do think that they have a chance against Northern Arizona. I think that'll be a good game. Northern Arizona is a team, a lot of guys that ended up on that team that I've scouted before too in the past. And, some of those guys, have been playing really well for them from what I've seen. So it'll be interesting, man. I mean, all of these games, I feel like the IFL, I know you're going over, the slate tonight, obviously, but a lot of these games are hard to predict just, with the way that the scoring works. And there's so many close games. To me, the IFL is a very evenly matched league. And that's been shown in previous seasons. I might be wrong on this, so don't quote me on it, but I think the past 6 seasons, the IFL has had a different champion each year. And I think that really speaks to just the diversity. And again, there's a lot of turnover, whether that's for better or worse, we'll see. But the reality is different guys are competing every year. So.
Exactly. Gabe, looking at this slate, and I know you're just getting into the IFL, right? Looking at this slate, you've got the Jacksonville Sharks, which Evan just mentioned, were the NAL champions last year, just came into the IFL today, or I said today, this year. Sorry, excuse me. You got Duke City playing today. You got Quad City playing today, which I know you're going to be getting familiar with Quad City, being that they're in Albuquerque, correct? Or is that
that's
Duke
City?
Okay,
Duke City.
That's right.
Yeah,
What game are you?
That's the team I've been watching.
Okay, so being that they're playing Tucson now, Tucson, Evan, if I'm not mistaken, Tucson is actually a pretty decent team this season as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Tucson, man, it's interesting with Tucson. We actually have, their head coach and defensive coordinator from last year, Curtis Chin, was the head coach there, is now our offensive coordinator, and Xavier Jackson, the defensive coordinator there, came over in the same role as us. But yeah, I mean, they've got, I think it's Billy Back is the coach there now. I like what Tucson's got going on. I think, and they're in our conference. I think our conference is really strong. And I'm not just saying that because I work in the league and I see all these guys last year, again, and I wasn't with Vegas last year, but I was keeping track of the league a bit anyway, not nearly as much as I am now working in it. But, I felt like last year, just because the conference was so strong, there were certain teams who were well put together, both coaching wise and roster wise, but we're still at the bottom of the conference. And Vegas was one of them. I think we were last, last year. And that was just because of the amount of talent that the Western Conference had in the IFL. And so far we're seeing that continue. I know we're obviously off to a 2-0 start. I think San Diego's 2-0 now. So these teams, I mean, some of them are looking pretty good, and I think that's going to continue. And I see Tucson, I look at them, and again, some of the guys that I had scouted previously ended up on that team. And, we have some of their players from last year just because their coaches came over. So there's some familiarity there. I'll be really interested to see how that pans out when we play them, for sure.
So, Gabe, are you going to be keeping your eye on that Tucson Quad City game or Duke City game today?
Oh, Duke City. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I've started with this season, and my introduction into following the IFL this year, I said, you know what? I live in New Mexico. I'm gonna back Duke City. I'm gonna watch this squad focus on one team. And so, I caught the Frisco game. They're sitting at 0-2 right now, but that's all right. That's all right. When you look at the scores, they're not losing by, I think they lost by like 9 points to Frisco. And then it was so it's not too bad as far as for me being able to follow the game. You know what I mean? My thing is, Evan, let me ask you something, man. I'm really big on defense. Okay. I'm really big on defense and run game, which obviously coming into this type of league, it's not the strong suit. You know what I mean? It's very fast paced. It's very offense heavy. And at first glance, I think people who are into defense would be like, nah, you know what? That's not my kind of game. But actually, in my opinion, when you watch this, the fact that there's so much offense and how fast paced this game goes, I think great defensive play stands out more when you see a great defensive play. The more as the games that I've been watching. So let me ask you, Evan, is defense something that you guys heavily value in terms of scouting for players?
Definitely, man. I mean, I know, from, again, the general perspective with the way the game is played, this is probably more of an offensive, first league. And I mean, I don't know, people will argue that. And honestly, I think at all levels of football, you're seeing offense become more of the focal point nowadays. But yeah, man, like I'll tell you, one of the best players that we have on our entire team right now is this guy, Mikel Calhoun, our starting linebacker from Southern Illinois. And that guy, I think, has a chance here to, be an all-league player. And again, that's just because the offenses move so fast in this league that when you have somebody, especially single-handedly at that linebacker spot, who can slow them down, that's going to get people paying attention, and I think, yeah, man, I think you definitely hit the nail on the head there. Like, with the way the league is structured, if you get somebody that can come in and that can limit the number of points in a league where, points are really supposed to be everything, that's going to turn some heads. And I can tell you, like our defense, like, the eyes are going to be on the offense, but I feel really good about our defense. Like I told you, I did a lot of work with the defensive line, and I feel like, while maybe our secondary is a bit younger, we've had some guys, that have looked really good. Bryce Hampton, for example, he's a Vegas native. He played at a D2 school, went up to Purdue. I think the guy's got a great story, and he's starting to make some plays and really come along. So I feel like there's ample opportunities, man, on the defensive side of the game in this league, just like there is on offense. And I know there might be the offense will probably get more attention for really every team. But, I can tell you from being there in the games and watching practice film, like defense puts in work, man. In a league like this, the defense, they might be working harder than any other, defense that you'll see across pro football. And that all goes back to the structure. So I'm obviously a bit biased with that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, though. Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. In the IFL, speed on defense is important because the offenses are moving so much and so quickly. It's always high pace. You know what I mean? And these offenses are high powered. So if you, because like he said, Calhoun and Hampton have been making a lot of plays. And kind of that man Calhoun at linebacker, dude. Just watch that guy. Watch a Vegas Knighthawks game and watch Calhoun. That man can move, and he's quick. And for you to be in that small of a field space and be able to move that fast and cut that fast, man, it's going to be interesting to see. Gabe, I know you got to get out of here, and I'm going to continue a little bit more with Evan. But before you get out of here, it's my favorite time of the show. It's my favorite time of the show. We got 2 quick questions. I know I don't want to take up too much of your time. Don't kill me. Don't kick my ass, Gabe, but we got some fan mail. We got some fan mail, y'all, and I'm happy to have Evan here for the fan mail today too. Hit asked, he says, with all the cuts now made in public news for the UFL, do you think these they cheated these players, or do you believe it was a solid move? And I understand why he asked this, Evan. Just so you know, one of our viewers, Hit, who does send in fan mail every week. He's learning more and more and more about football. He's not a big football watcher. He's actually started watching the game of football because of me and just supporting me from streaming, actually. So he asked this question because he's trying to learn more about football. So as far as the cuts go, Gabe, Evan, do you guys believe these players were cheated, or was it a solid move?
Well, as for my part, I mean, it all depends on a team-by-team basis. You know what I mean? I don't think teams are trying to cheat any player. What they're doing when they're making cuts, unfortunately, you have a certain amount of players by a certain date. Like the UFL, you have the 50-man roster limit that has to be made within like a week or two before the season starts. So and they're trying to put the best players out there for their situation, be it their scheme, the best players that they feel are going to give them the best opportunity to win. So I wouldn't really say anybody's getting cheated. But sometimes, as fans and as content creators and people like us that follow the game a little more than the average football fans do, or should I say a lot more in some cases, you do kind of scratch your head about it and like, oh, wow, I thought for sure this dude was going to make the cut, but again, we're not there behind the scenes. We're not knowing what's going on, whether it's chemistry with the team in the locker room, whether it's just something that they're not showing at camp. So in terms of getting cheated, I wouldn't put it that way. I do think, sometimes you just really don't know if it's a solid move to keep one player and cut another until you actually get into the season.
Okay. Great answer. Evan?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I don't think the league cheats any players. I think they bring in all these guys and try and give them an opportunity. Now, that's not to say that maybe a league like the UFL favors a certain type of player. I know there's some people who have talked about, there's maybe too many guys with NFL experience and there's not enough quote unquote true opportunities for, these younger, smaller school guys, kind of the guys that we go after at the IFL level. But, I don't think anybody was cheated, right? I mean, these guys come into camp, they get an opportunity to play. And for some of these guys, again, especially who don't have the pedigree, that's a really big deal. And they take that very seriously. So at the end of the day, man, like cuts are just part of the business. You have to get your roster down to a certain size. You can't keep anybody. And a lot of coaches and GMs will tell you that is the hardest part of their job is letting players go. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I feel the same way. I agree with both of you guys. It's not so much of a being cheated thing. It's you didn't make the cut. You don't fit the chemistry. You don't fit the scheme. You don't, you're and to answer this question that you have in the comments, Hit, no, it isn't even about experience because you can have guys with less experience than some of these other players who come in and outwork these guys in training camp or in this combine or in these scouting events, and they outwork these guys. They come into training camp knowing that there's an opportunity that they could get cut. So they come in there and they work their ass off and they work harder than the guy that people were expecting to make the cut, but didn't, because we were surprised by a lot of cuts that were made. And some of the guys that did make the cut, they don't have the experience. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't come down to experience all the time per se, but honestly, it's more so that they just didn't cut out. It didn't pan out. You know what I mean? They didn't make the cut for a reason. Either they weren't skilled enough within that scheme at their position, or their chemistry wasn't good enough for, that defense or that offense, or there was just another guy out there who was just a little bit better or just outworked that player, and that's what it all ultimately comes down.
I mean, in some cases, you might be a wide receiver who was cut, but you were cut by a team who is really, really loaded at wide receiver depth. So it's really more of a situational thing, man, with a lot of these. And like I said, a lot of these guys that were cut, I'm looking at and I'm like, man, there is a lot of talent right now, a lot of talent that is not playing football right now. guys that are just out there waiting to get a call from the team in one of these swing levels. So the talent pool's out there. You're going to see it when there's injuries. Unfortunately, we all hate injuries, but it is a part of the game. Anytime you have a full contact sport, but you'll see it during the season, man. Some of these guys that were cut, they're going to end up on the UFL roster before the season's out.
Definitely. All right, off-topic question real quick before Gabe leaves us. No, but what was your favorite thing to do?
Unfortunately, I do this for fun, man. Unfortunately, I don't pay the bills yet. So,
excluding video games, what was your favorite thing to do as a kid? Now, for me, going outside. Literally, me and my friends found something to do outside all the damn time. As soon as we meet up, as soon as we if I see somebody riding down the street on their bike, here I come. We're going to go explore. We're going to go be adventurous. Like, we were outdoor kids, man. I was an outdoor kid. I was always outside. I mean, when I did play video games, that's because we were, like, having a sleepover or something, and a bunch of people were going to be coming over, and you know what I mean? That's just how it was. We were playing video games in the house. But when it comes to, like, just normal everyday, I was outdoors. I'm an outdoors kid. I've always been. I even go, I'm an outdoors person now, but it was just something always fun to do outdoors. We would go in the woods, play hide and seek or something, go build a damn tree house, something. We did something, man, and ride our bikes halfway across the damn city just to do it. You know what I mean? So it was just something that was always outside for us.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for me, it was sports. Go ahead, Em. Go ahead.
Okay. Nah, man. I mean, the outdoor one is a good one. I think for me it was drawing. I don't know, kind of a weird answer, but I was always very artistic as a kid. I loved to draw.
I can relate.
My parents saved a bunch of drawings that I used to make when I was young, and I did that for a long time. I carried that throughout a lot of my childhood, so that's probably my answer.
That's awesome, Gabe. You said sports.
As for me,
elaborate.
As for me, man, see, for me, it was always sports. It was always sports, man. I love playing basketball, football out there with my friends. Like you, when I'm outdoors, I was playing a lot of basketball, football. But I also had a lot of, like Evan, I was a big drawer, man. I love to draw. With my culture, we're a big thing into lowriders and lowrider magazines. So I would send, even as a kid, I was getting pictures actually published in their art magazine and stuff like that. So that was something I really loved to do. And then as I got, kind of to my preteens, that's when I got really into songwriting. But the one thing that was always there was just playing sports, being outside, man. I wonder whether it was going to my kickboxing classes or whether it was just playing ball. We would sit there playing street ball, ever since I was a kid. I mean, until, the lights would come on and it's like, that was your time to go home until mom was out there yelling at you, get your ass in the house. But, so yeah, it was a lot of different things. But the one constant was always just being outside, playing sports, always.
Definitely. I can honestly say that was the same thing for me, man. But that is it for mail time today, y'all. If you want to send in your fan mail questions, you can email your questions to thegridironpodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's thegridironpodcast@gmail.com. And like always, man, go follow Double G Gabe Garcia on all the socials. You can send in your fan mail questions to his Tuesday night show, which is Gridiron Nation Podcast. And you can send in your questions to gridironnationpodcast@gmail.com as well.
Yes.
Evan, I got a little bit more to talk to you about. Gabe, I don't know how much longer you're going to be here, but do you have anything else for Evan before you get out of here?
That's it, man. I just wanted to say, by hearing your story, and then, seeing, like I said, you're young, man, and you've already seemed like you've gotten kind of wiser beyond your years, be it your battle with your, your personal stuff going on, but also professionally, man. So I just wanted to say, I respect that. Much respect to you, man. And, just the first, meeting you, it's like it tells me a lot about you, man. So I got to say much respect. And maybe sometime, down the road with the IFL thing, I'm going to be trying to get up and make some games up in Albuquerque and stuff like that, get around and maybe we cross paths again, man. But it was excellent meeting you. Thank you for being on our show today, man. And it's much respect to you and best of luck in everything you've got going on forward, man.
Nighthawks, baby.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Really, it means a lot. I'm glad. I'm glad you support our league and everything that's going on. And yeah, hopefully, paths cross. This league is great for things like that. So we'll see what happens.
Most definitely. Quick update on the game. If you're not watching, it is 19-8. Memphis is up on San Antonio, and it looks like they're getting the ball back. But San Antonio has the ball. 4 minutes, 50 seconds left in the game, man. It's a close one. This is the UFL. This is spring football. The rules are different. We got 1, 2, and 3-point conversion. You know what I mean? So anything can happen. This game is not over, y'all. This game is not over. There's still time left, so definitely. But a little bit more with Evan.
I got to get out of here, brother.
All right, so yeah.
I got to get out of here. I'm going to catch you fellas later.
Make sure you guys go and follow Gabe on all his socials. Be ready for the Gridiron Nation podcast live on Fuel Sports Network Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Mountain, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and of course 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast. And then you can catch him on Thursdays for the Hellraiser podcast at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Adjust your clocks accordingly. Gabe, I love you, brother. My brother from another mother, the OG, double OG. You already know. I will holler at you later. Have a great day at work, man. And
yes, have a good one, gentlemen.
Not tell you about the Arlington Renegades game. I'm not gonna say nothing. I remember.
Don't tell me, man. Don't be texting me. I'm turning off my notifications. Don't you dare ruin that game for me. I don't care if we lose tonight. Okay, my Renegades. We got bounce back, baby. They're talking about a record-breaking crowd tonight for the UFL. Well, all them record-breaking crowds are gonna go home sad tonight because my boy Luis Betta's about to come in.
Interception.
Raise some hell, baby.
Chase Garbers just threw an interception. I think this game's over. But have a great one, Gabe. We got more with my man Evan Willsmore right after this.
It's time I get in the game, forget the money and fame. Stay ready, making sure that they'll remember my name. I got a hunger inside when the numbers are tied.
Hit for my wins, I need my ends. This life is real, if they pretend. Came off the
And we are back right here on the Gridiron, live on YouTube and Facebook only now. But you can catch the Gridiron Podcast Show on Fuel Sports Network, powered by Gateway City Sports, every Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, y'all. Evan, thank you for being here with me today, man. Now, on this journey that you've had, man, you started out young. I was watching the Pat Ruffino interview with you, and this started for you back at 8 years old, or excuse me, 8th grade. I'm sorry. This started back for you in 8th grade. Forgive me, y'all. 8th grade. How was that experience? And I remember you saying on the Pat Ruffino show on Analyze and Educate with that interview, you were saying that it was really from that moment in 8th grade or in that year of the summer of the 8th grade or that year of 8th grade where, you fell in love with this and it was like you knew this is what you were going to do at such a young age, man. This is just so impressive to me. How did you know, even at that young of an age, how did you know that this is what you wanted to do? Was it a feeling? Was it just the experience itself? What really was it that told you and gave you that mindset, like, this is what the hell I'm going to do and I'm going to love it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think the best way to put it is just a gut feeling. Like really, I mean, like you pointed out, man, and as I've said before on other interviews and stuff, like I didn't have a ton of experience with football. It came to me very quickly, all kind of at once in a way. And, it didn't take me very long, again, to realize like this is really cool. I want to have a bigger role in it. But yeah, man, I mean, I think it was just the people around me that really not only supported me, right, but always gave me something to think about. Like, I think I was talking during that interview, like, just being around so many people who were talking about the current events in the NFL and things like that. I mean, there was always something new to talk about and to build on and to figure out. And, it fascinated me. It was a daily thing. And there was always changes and always something that you could find in terms of a storyline. And as I had pointed out earlier on the show, one of the things that I was also doing for a brief time was journalism. I loved, and I still love it, but just the stories of the guys that are around football and kind of like what we're talking about now, just hearing people talk about it, seeing where they came from. And, now I have a pretty cool story I can share from all of that. So, yeah, man, I mean, just going back to the original question, like, I think, just investing enough time to where you can really, again, see all those changes happen. And, just the more time you put into it, I think, at least for me, the more involved I felt, even if it really took a couple years to get going on the business side and, start networking properly and all that. You just gotta find the time to devote to it. And for me, that wasn't hard because, as you pointed out, I was so young. When you're that young and you're a kid, I mean, it kind of feels like you have all the time in the world.
Right.
I'm sure you probably dealt with that during your childhood. So yeah, man, I think that's the best way I can put it in that regard.
For sure, man. And like I said, man, you guys, this young man is only going to be 20 in 6 days, man. 20 years old. And like I said, man, it's such an amazing thing to see you go from that. That just shows your dedication to knowing what you want to do and sticking to it. You know what I mean? And putting all your ambition into succeeding and getting to where you want to be. And I can honestly say, man, I am super excited for your future. I am honored and blessed to have gotten the pleasure to meet you, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do in the future, man. And again, just to go back to what you're doing currently, he's the director of player personnel in the IFL, guys. For a whole football team, for a professional football team at the age of 19. That experience has to be awesome, man. What is it like just being able to, on a daily basis, work with professional football players, man? What is that experience just like? Is it like one of those, this is a dream come true, like when you first walked into the locker room, where you starstruck just a little, or was it like, okay, I'm ready for this. This is what I want to do, but we'll still have that, this is kind of humbling, but this is like, I'm a geeked out fan. Like, what kind of feeling did you have, and what is it like working with the players on a daily basis?
Well, it's great, man, but I definitely treat it like a business endeavor. I've always said I take my job seriously. I mean, I could just dance around and try and act like, the typical fan or whatever. But no, I mean, I take it seriously. And I've gone on record saying that, my relationships with the players is extremely important. And that's something that I care about. I feel like whenever I'm around the players and coaches too, but, especially the players, I feel like I can always learn something from them and they can learn something from me. So we build off each other in the moment. But, you got to remember, like, it's a business, like, making decisions at this age, it's tough. Unfortunately, I have some help. We've got a great head coach, GM, Mike Davis, that knows how to run a roster or run a team. I should say build a roster and run a team very successfully. He's had time in the CFL. He did it in the IFL for many years before he came to Vegas as well. So that having that helps, right? Having the guys around you like that I wouldn't be as successful as I am right now if I don't have that same group of guys supporting me, and watching the moves and communicating with them, all that. And I think that goes without saying. But yeah, man, I mean, there's no doubt, like every time you step into the locker room or you're talking to somebody or you're in a game setting, I mean, you're always reminded of how grateful you are, and I never forget that. I always try and, be a very humble person, but, man, like it never fails to amaze me, that feeling of just being around the game in the capacity that I am now. Like the feeling never gets old. And again, that's part of the reason why, going back to, your first question, just about like, how do you know that you wanted to do this? It was because every time, like, even if I was doing something for the 100th time in the world of football, it never felt old to me, and that's something that I think is really important when you're trying to figure out what you want to do. Is like, is this something that I could keep doing for X many months or years, and you still feel the same level of happiness and excitement every time you do it? And so far, that's what I'm experiencing. So I've got no complaints on that front, man.
That's amazing, man. That really is, and I know it's an awesome experience. I'm gonna have to come actually check out a Vegas Knighthawks game myself. I really want to come in and actually check out a game this season. So I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. But again, it's just an amazing story for me. Now, let me get your picks on these UFL games this week. Now, I know we can't really make a pick on the Brahmas and Memphis game, but going into this Brahmas and Showboats game, who did you have?
Yeah, I had San Antonio, but I thought it was going to be a really competitive game. Memphis has a great roster. I know San Antonio's roster, I think, showed some flashes last week. And, Mark Lillibridge, the former Roughnecks personnel guy, did a great job of putting that together. They have a lot of new players. But Memphis, I think, I don't know if I'd call them a sleeper. But, with DiFilippo leading the way, and that's a guy that I've had an opportunity to work with and interact with on a handful of occasions. And their roster, I feel like, people haven't talked about it enough in terms of what they have. And you're seeing that today. I feel like a lot of people overlooked Case Cookus going into this season. I always thought he was kind of middle of the pack, but, he's got what it takes to start in a league like this. And he continues to show that from both a passing and running abilities. So, yeah, man, I picked San Antonio, but am I surprised that Memphis is in this position? No. And it's good to see them, get going. And, again, they've got a great thing going there. So.
Definitely. They definitely do. So with that, we see, I mean, they are driving, though. They are driving. Chase Garbers just completed a beautiful pass. The receiver didn't get touched, and he was able to get up and continue down the field, picked up a nice gain. So they're driving. There's 2 minutes left. We're at the 2-minute warning now. So I think it's going to be a nice little outcome for the end of this game. Now, for the rest of the week, or for the rest of the weekend, we have the big one, the primetime game, which, like we said earlier, everybody's expecting maybe 40, 50,000 people. The Arlington Renegades and the Battlehawks. Who do you feel comfortable taking in this game?
Yeah, I like St. Louis in this game. I understand that they started pretty slow last week against Michigan, and maybe that shouldn't have happened, just given where a lot of people thought Michigan was at. I mean, again, St. Louis to a lot of people, I think, felt like a heavyweight coming into this season. And, I think they, again, if you remember last year, they opened their season against San Antonio, and they had a pretty slow start there, to their season as well in the XFL last year. Like, it took them, I think they had like the, fourth and whatever conversion, and then they had to get a 3-point to tie. And like, it took them a minute to get back in their groove too. So, it doesn't, looking back on it now that I've had time to, go through last week's games, like, I don't think it's surprising that St. Louis had another slow start, even if they were a more cohesive unit coming into this year, given that last year was a completely different situation with the XFL being around for the first time in 3 years and that team being completely new. But I just think, man, I think, they're expecting about 40,000 people there is what I'm hearing. If St. Louis doesn't win that game with that, which is probably going to be a spring league record in terms of attendance, if they don't win that game, that's going to be a tough look. Like, the pressure's on my guy, Anthony Becht, to get it done. And I think, to be fair, I think Arlington will give them a run for their money. I think Arlington, I saw them live last week against Birmingham. They've got some holes they need to fill, and I wouldn't be surprised if that team made some changes, especially if they lose tonight. I like St. Louis, man. There's just, to me, with that crowd being there, and I know the crowd doesn't dictate, the schemes or the players that are out there, but, I just think the stage is set for what should be, one of the better nights, I think, that we've seen in any of these leagues. And the one thing that I'll say about that game, too, really quickly is, I feel like it would be really funny, and I'm not throwing any shade at the USFL, but since there's been a lot of people talking about, the USFL's beat all the XFL teams so far, I think it would be really funny if a USFL team had to play a game, let's say this game tonight, which is going to be the record-breaking attendance. It would have been funny if a USFL team had to play in that environment, just because we all know, the USFL fan situation last year. Right. Again, just a completely different atmosphere. So I was kind of hoping that they would actually have a non-conference home opener for St. Louis, and unfortunately that wasn't the case. But that's always something fun to think about. You wonder how a USFL team who had never seen a crowd like that would perform. And obviously all these teams have guys that played at big Power Five, so they're used to that environment. But that St. Louis crowd, man, that crowd is, I think, garnered a lot of attention in all of the football communities across, this landscape. So it'll be fun to see that again. Definitely.
I actually took Arlington in this game. I think Letty Brown and Devion Smith get that running game going for their offense, and I think we'll see a much more balanced offense. I gotta say though, it's gonna be hard being in that dome, being in front of 40,000, maybe 50,000 plus people. It's going to be hard. It's going to be loud. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be ruckus. It's going to be crazy. But I think Luis was able to throw for 214 yards last week. I think that if he's able to do that and we get a balance to that run or to that offense with the run game, you know what I mean? I think that Arlington could shock a lot of people and actually come out with a win today. I honestly think they can come out with a win today. So I'm rooting for Arlington. Look, I'm 2-2 so far. I went 2-2 last week. The Brahmas are making me look bad right now. I'm looking at going 2-3 so far for the first 2 weeks. But I do have the Renegades in this game, so we'll see. Like you said, playing in front of that big atmosphere, there's a lot of guys who played in Power 5 schools, and they know that atmosphere. But on a professional level, it's a little different. Now you have to really perform, So I think it's going to be a tough game. The next game on the slate for tomorrow, we have Birmingham at Michigan. Now, with the kick heard around the world, do you think the fans are going to be are showing out tomorrow? I mean, we see, because I'm kind of disappointed in this Memphis crowd. I'm kind of disappointed in the Memphis turnout right now at this game. I'm not even going to lie. I thought we were going to see a hell of a lot more people, but it looks it looks literally like a USFL game from last year. And I'm not trying to throw any shade. I'm not, but it's like, come on, Memphis fans. We thought you guys were going to be the Yacht Club. We thought the Yacht Club was going to be stepping out, and it's the home opener, and there's barely anybody there. They rarely even show the crowd. Do you think Michigan is going to show up and show out, and the fans are going to start to show up and show out because of what happened with Jake Bates and all the noise it made around the sports world? And who do you have in this game?
Yeah, man. I mean, to answer the first question, I think, there should be maybe – I don't know. See, Michigan didn't crack 10,000 that first game. And I think a lot of people might have been a bit disappointed, especially because they're playing at Ford Field, which is a big NFL venue. But you got to remember, Michigan didn't start selling single game tickets until like right before the season started. So a lot of people didn't even have access, to that game until, right as it was about to happen, really. So you got to keep that in mind. I think if they beat Birmingham this week, and that's not who I'm taking, I'll take the Stallions in this game, but I think if they beat Birmingham, then people will start to think like, okay, well, this team might be for real. Now, I still feel like Michigan has some holes too. I'm not sold on EJ Perry quite yet. I think it'd be interesting if they play Danny Etling, who I think is the backup, and he's an LSU guy, so maybe I'm biased, but I think he might bring some stuff to the table. I just, EJ Perry last week, I don't know. I don't know if he was the best quarterback in that game, even though he won. And I'm not going to try and just keep throwing shade at him because I'm sure, he could do a hell of a lot more than I could do playing football. But, look, man, I think, a lot of the talk has been around Michigan's defense. And I think that their defense last week really lived up to the hype. They've got the reigning USFL Defensive Player of the Year back, Frank Ginda, who was with the Atlanta Falcons previously. He's kind of the anchor of that defense, but they've got a lot of other guys who are starting to turn some heads, and I think that are going to continue to put the league on notice this season, throughout the season, even if they don't win against Birmingham. So, look, I'll take the Stallions just based off what I saw in person last week against Arlington. I know the Stallions have had a lot of turnover themselves. You've got your third different starting quarterback in your third season in existence. You're going from Jamar Smith to Alex Magoo to Matt Corral. But I like what they have a lot. And I think that as scary as it is to say, I've been saying this, but the rich get richer. This might be the best team that Birmingham has had on paper throughout their existence. And they've won the past 2 championships in their respective leagues. So, we'll see if, they can win a third and three-peat, which would be nuts. But right now, from a roster perspective, I definitely think that they have what it takes to get it done there.
Okay. Well, I actually took Michigan because I believe that defense wins championships. And it's not a bad pick.
It's not a bad pick. I respect that.
And I've been saying this all week long. The offensive side, it all comes down to the play of EJ Perry. You just mentioned it. If EJ Perry, and I said this all week long, if EJ Perry could play 4 consistent quarters of good football with the defense that Michigan has, with Wes Hills in the backfield at the running back, this Michigan offense could be scary. And I keep saying it in this way, and everybody knows that I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, but if EJ Perry goes out there and he Cooper rushes it, you know what I mean? And what I mean by that, when I say that, is he just goes out there and he just does his job. He doesn't overthink things. He doesn't underthink things. He doesn't try and do more than what he's capable of doing and trying to be more Patrick Mahomes-esque or Lamar Jackson-esque, and try and do things that he's not capable of doing. But he uses his feet at the right times, and he makes accurate, good pass plays at the right times. And he has that balance between the run game and, the passing game. All he has to do is play 4 good, solid, consistent quarters of good football, right? And Michigan has a defense that could carry them to the first inaugural Spring Bowl, aka the UFL championship. So I'm taking in an upset, and I look at this as an upset because, like you said, Birmingham is stacked, and on paper this may be the best team, even after what we've seen from Alex Magoo and the Stallions last year, or what we've seen in year 1 with Jamar Smith and Bo Scarborough. This may be the best Stallions roster on paper. You just have to see it translate on the field. We saw a little bit of it week 1. Matt Corral didn't play the best, but he did enough in that second half. And I think we'll see that carry over. But I believe Michigan will have enough, especially at home, if the fans turn out from what Mr. Jake Boots Bates did last week. Then I think we could have an upset on our hands. But it's going to be interesting. Now let's take a trip over to Washington, D.C., where we're going to have the D.C. Defenders looking to bounce back from a tough loss against San Antonio, who just actually scored and are down by 5 with 48 seconds left. And I believe they're going for 3. I think they're going for 3. Let's see. I think they're going for 3. So that'll make this an interesting game because that'll put them down by 2. They'll have to go for 4th and 12, try and get the ball back. So this is going to be a nice finish. This is going to be an interesting finish. We'll see what happens. But we got Houston and DC. Now I'm going to let you know firsthand. Taking Houston. I'm going to shut up. Now, who do you have in this game? We still see that both Chris Odom and Mark Thompson are doubtful, but we still have another day. We still have the rest of today. They could, be ready to go tomorrow. There's no telling. So we might have to do two different predictions. If Mark Thompson and Chris Odom play, how do you see this Houston DC game going? And who do you think would win if they play? And if they don't play, how do you see this game going, and who do you think will win?
Yeah, this is a tough one, and this is one that I've been thinking about for a bit. I'm going to take Houston too, and I don't really know if it's dependent on whether or not Mark Thompson or Chris Odom plays. I just think, look, DC, my buddy Mike Mitchell, and I'm going to say this right now, he got a lot of heat for putting out an article on Sports Illustrated that had the Defenders at 5-5 this season. Everybody said, well, you're crazy. They got Reggie Barlow, they got, all these guys. They went to the championship last year. How are they going to go 5-5? Well, when you look at what they lost, and in my opinion, I had Abram Smith as a top 3 player in this league, and they also lost him not to another team, but for injury. He's
Right.
out for the year. So this team has a lot of losses. I mean, on paper, yes, they're experienced. Yes, there's a lot of things there to like, but and you saw it last week too. They looked a lot different. I mean, their pacing was not the best. It seems like they have a lot of things to figure out. Now, I know we talked earlier in the show, week 1 probably isn't the best measuring point, for a lot of these teams. You're figuring that out with San Antonio. We'll see what they do here with however many seconds. I mean, you've got the game on, but, I think and look, don't get me wrong, Houston didn't play well either. I thought Houston looked pretty poor, and that's not to say they don't have the talent. Like, they have a lot of guys that I like too, but I don't know. They have a lot of things. To me, it's 2 teams that have a lot of things to figure out right now. But I just see, I see Houston, it might be a low scoring thing. They might scrape by, but I don't know. I just like Houston, and
Yeah.
there might not be a ton of logic behind that. Like, again, I could also see DC beating them by 20. Just with the way that they played last week, and I feel like DC has the ability to adjust quicker. But again, I feel like Houston, has an opportunity here to pick things up and to get back on the board. And DC, I don't know. I still feel like, if DC does lose this week, they will start picking things up after that. But so one of these teams after this week is going to have a big wake up call, because you'll be 0-2. And, you likely haven't been playing good football, because so far, both these teams are 0-1, and their week 1 performances left a lot to be desired. So
Exactly. And to your point, with DC, you lost Chris Blair, you lost Lucky Jackson, and then coming into this season, right before the beginning of the season, last week of practice, preparation week, you lose your most important piece on offense that you have in the running back of Abram Smith. And you saw it last week. San Antonio was able to really shut down that offense. Jordan Ta'amu had to do a lot to get that offense going. From what it looks like, San Antonio Brahmas got a penalty. Well, there was a penalty against Memphis, and the San Antonio Brahmas had the 3-point try from the 1 and did not convert. But they did convert the 4th and 12, There's 27 seconds left in the game. They're down by 5. It's 19-14. Told you this was going to be a great ending. They're down by 5. It's 19-14. They missed the 3-point try from the 1. That was a gimme. You should have just ran the ball in with Anthony McFarland, but I don't know why they passed the ball on that play. But they did convert the 4th and 12 instead of going for an onside kick. So they do currently have the ball with 24 seconds left, and they're trying to drive, and at least they have to score a touchdown. Field goal is not going to win them the game. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see Destroying make a game-winning or attempt a game-winning field goal try, but they are going to have to go for the gusto and score a touchdown here. So I'm picking Houston because I think that defense is going to carry them. That defense is going to shut down DC. In my opinion, I could be wrong, but I really feel defense wins championships. And they just got out of bounds. 17 seconds left. They just had a huge gain by Stevenson. Stevenson with a huge 20-plus yard gain to put them in a good position. 17 seconds left, I believe, to continue on and trying to win this game. But yeah, I have Houston. I just think that the offense will bounce back a little bit. And if Mark Thompson plays, he's going to be the ultimate. He's going to be the ultimate decision or deciding factor of this game. You know what I mean? He could either take Houston's offense over the top this week, or if he gets shut down, then we'll see that, okay, maybe just running your offense through Mark Thompson isn't going to work, CJ. You know what I mean? Curtis Johnson, you can't just, tell everybody, we're going to run our offense through Mark Thompson before the season even starts, and then he's not even able to go game 1. But even still, you're still giving people, ammo. You're still giving out your ammunition unless you plan to make that as like you thought. I just said that to make people think that we were going to run our offense through Mark Thompson and we're really going to have a balanced offense. But to give out that ammo before the beginning of the season, I think that was kind of a bad move on coach's part. But we'll see, man. If Chris Odom plays, I think that just adds another spark to that defense. You know what I mean? And if Mark Thompson plays, I think that brings a spark to the offense. But Jared Guarantano, he's not the answer. That's just in my opinion. I think he needs more development. I think Houston should trade him to St. Louis and get Brandon Silvers back. Touchdown! Touchdown, San Antonio! Touchdown, San Antonio!
Look at you doing the play-by-play, man.
Look, they just sold Mariachi. They just sold Mariachi Bravo from the Horns for the podcast celebrating. Look, that's Jackie and Mariachi. Look, they're going crazy. 20-19, 3 seconds left. What a play by Chase Garbers, getting out of the pocket, scrambling, and his receiver, Cody Latimer. We barely heard his name called last week in the game. I'm sorry to be yelling. What a play by Chase Garbers. Cody Latimer. Oh, my goodness. That was amazing. Look at SAJ, Brahma Babe, Mariachi, BD. They're going crazy right now. They're on the screen, on the TV screen, going crazy. They just showed them on TV. I think they're going to go for one and go ahead and just ice this game with a 2-point win. But thank you, San Antonio. That's what I'm talking about.
There you go, man. You never know.
AJ Smith, you were talking about him. You and Coach Blevins were talking about him, and Gabe, we were all talking about him early on the show. And we said that AJ Smith is that guy. Well, they're actually going for 2. You said AJ Smith was that guy, and when it comes to offensive coordinators in this league, I think he happens to be one of the best, if not the best. Not throwing shade at anybody else, but I mean, just look at this guy. Look what he was able to do in Houston last year. Look what he's able to do right now. That play call was brilliant. Cody Latimer came off the flat or came up the crease, and he got himself open for his quarterback. What a play by Chase Garbers to keep his eyes upfield while scrambling and make that throw on the run. That was just a beautiful play. Just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful play, man. And wow. Wow. San Antonio.
This would probably be a good time to say, this is the first game of week 2. And going back to last week, we've already had, 3 games that have come down to, inside however many seconds. So I don't know. To all the people out there, who don't watch these leagues or say that it's, not real football or whatever, like, I don't know. I mean, some of these finishes are pretty impressive. And again, another rule change. I mean, again, you want to talk about some of the stuff that we were touching on earlier, that fourth down play, I mean, that doesn't exist in the NFL right now. You wouldn't have that opportunity to have that drive. And again, I've always said the odds of getting an onside kick, that only happens once a year in the NFL. Teams don't even really try it anymore, to be honest.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, that's probably a good time to bring all that stuff up. Pretty impressive job by you, balancing picks for next week and play-by-play in this game. So. And your pick for this week got saved too, so you're a happy man.
I'm a happy man. I'm going to be looking at going 3-2, but there's still 3 seconds left, and you never know. We might get a kick return for a touchdown. So that's not say anything too fast. Now, before we get up out of here, man, these are the following games for the IFL this week. Now, we have a bye week, so we can give our picks with no bias. You know what I mean? No Knighthawks bias. None of that. We have an opportunity to look at what we are have ahead this weekend for the IFL. Northern Arizona versus San Antonio. Bay Area Panthers versus Jacksonville Sharks. Tucson Sugar Scrolls versus Duke City Gladiators. The Green Bay Blizzard taking on Quad City Steamrollers. And the Iowa Barnstormers taking on the Tulsa Oilers. Looking at that first game, Northern Arizona, San Antonio, who you got?
I'm going to go with Northern Arizona. I know San Antonio, they've got, talent-wise, I talked about it earlier, they've got a lot. We're playing them coming up. But I like Northern Arizona in that game. I feel like, again, they're one of the tougher teams in our conference, and Coach Les Moss, great guy. I've had an opportunity to work with him too, or at least meet him and interact with him. I've had an opportunity to, to be around him, and yeah, that's a good team. I think they have an opportunity to get the job done there.
Okay, definitely. I happen to agree with that. Just real quick, I know I yelled it trying to do some play-by-play, but that is the game. The final, it is 20-19. San Antonio Brahmas get the dub. The comeback was for real, y'all. Now, that was a hell of a game. I don't give a damn how many people were in attendance. I bet you the Memphis Showboat fans wish they would have showed up to this game. Because if you didn't, man, you just missed a hell of a game. Case Cookis just actually fumbled at the end of the game, and that's really what ended it. So congratulations are in order to the San Antonio Brahmas for an amazing comeback, taking advantage of one of those rule changes, a 4th down and 12, instead of kicking the onside kick or kicking it off, and taking advantage of that, man. Beautiful ending to that game. Now back to the IFL. You said you were taking the Northern Arizona Wranglers in that game. Well, I'm going to do one better for you. I'm going to go ahead and take the San Antonio Gunslingers at home. I think they bounced back from that loss against San Diego. And I think because Northern Arizona, they haven't played the cleanest football in these first 4 weeks, in my opinion, their first few games. So I think San Antonio, with the fan base that's going to be there tonight, possibly from what I'm hearing, I think it's going to be sold out. A lot of people are excited for this Gunslingers game, and of course with the Brahmas not or being away, those Gunslinger fans that are both UFL and IFL fans, that couldn't make the Brahmas game are definitely probably going to show up and show out for those Gunslingers. Guns up, baby. You know how they do down in San Antonio. So I'm actually going to take the San Antonio Gunslingers. Now, Bay Area Panthers, Jacksonville Sharks. Who you got?
That's a tough one. I'm going to take Bay Area. I know, not to put any shame to these teams that are coming over from the NAL. It's just, Bay Area, again, reigning champs, great coach. Love the way their roster is constructed in particular. I think they might have one of the strongest in the league again. Excited for when we get an opportunity to play them. But I'm going to take Bay Area in that game.
I'm gonna have to go with you. I think Bay Area is gonna edge it out. I think it's gonna be one of those high-scoring offensive games. From what I've seen from Jacksonville and from what I've seen from Bay Area, I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game for sure. Definitely a high-scoring game. But I'm actually gonna go with you here and take Bay Area on this one because I just think they have a little bit more to offer, in this game. Next one we got Duke City and Tucson. Who do you got in that one?
Yeah, I like Tucson in that one. Duke City, they've gotten off to a bit of a slow start. I still feel like they've got a good team. Respect what they're doing, obviously, as I respect all the teams in the league. But I like Tucson in that one. Again, they've got a good coach, and again, I think I know their team probably better than Duke City, if I'm being entirely honest. So I'll roll with them on that one.
Okay. From what I've seen from both teams, I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I think either team can pull this out. Like you said, Duke City is off to a little slow start. Tucson's, I think they're 1-1 right now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I think this is one of those bounce back games for Duke City. I think they actually bounce back this week. I think this is when they start to get things rolling. I think those first two games were a little bit of a let's get the jitters out, let's get our chemistry together and go back, look at the tape on both of these games, see what we did wrong, see what we did right, see what we need to fix. And I think Duke City will actually pull this one out. Gabe, I'm pulling for Duke City for you, brother. So definitely. The next game here, oops, I went to the wrong thing. Next game here, we have, what is this? Quad City hosting the Green Bay Blizzard. Now, I'm a little familiar with Green Bay. I've watched them several times this season so far. I'm actually going to go with Green Bay on this one. Who do you think is going to pull out the game on this one?
Yeah, I mean, that'll be a good game. I think that'll be a really good game. I'm going to take Quad City. Not based on, any knowledge or anything. It's just, just like him in that game. My boy Omar over in Quad City, he's done a great job with their roster. So hoping they can get, that win. But Green Bay's got a great coach in Corey Roberson. So I think that has the potential to be one of the best games of the weekend. I really do.
Okay. I was actually going to say that I think this could be one of those game of the week type games because of what, Green Bay's coach is able to do. I like the way he has that offense moving and grooving, man. They're looking pretty good this season so far. And I think they just edge it out, but I'm not going to sleep on Duke City. I'm definitely not. I've seen that team, and like I said, I've watched every game so far this IFL season, and I will be watching the games today as well. But I just think that damn, I forgot that quick. The team, Green Bay. Sorry, I think Green Bay will just edge this one out, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and like you said, I think this has the potential to be game of the week today or this weekend. So we'll see what it's looking like in week 4 of the IFL when it comes to the Green Bay Blizzard and the Quad City Steamrollers game. Now, last game we got the Tulsa Oilers hosting the Iowa Barnstormers. Who you got in that one, Evan?
I like Tulsa in that one. This is a matchup between two of the teams that were in the bottom of the league last year, both of who I feel like have really good coaches, and Marvin Jones and Dave Mogensen. But I like Tulsa. I think Tulsa's made some progress, and nothing against Iowa. Obviously, I feel like that one could be a pretty close game too. It's just Tulsa. I remember watching a bit of their game against Frisco, and that looks like a new team. That looks like a team that did some serious work in the offseason and that I have a lot of respect for. So I'll pick them in that one.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. You just stated it. What they did in this offseason and what I seen against Frisco. They look like a totally different team from the highlights I watched from last year. So I'm going to have to go with Tulsa on this one, not taking anything whatsoever away from the Iowa Barnstormers because they are a good team. I've watched them play so far this season. They are a good team, but I have to agree with you. I think Tulsa just did enough in that offseason to be better in this one. So I'm going to have to take Tulsa with you. I'm going to have to go along with you on that one and take Tulsa. And I think it's going to be really exciting in both the IFL and the UFL this weekend. You just saw we had a crazy ending to a close game where, for the most part, San Antonio was down. So there's no telling what we're going to get this weekend in both leagues, but I'm excited for it. Evan, man, thank you so much. You spent 2.5 hours almost with us this morning, man. I greatly, greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to speaking with you some more later on in the season. I want to bring you back on to the show later on in the season and definitely, see where we're at in the season when you do come on and see how everything's transpired, especially with the Vegas Knighthawks, because I'm going to be watching them closely. Like I said, I'm going to try to get down to a home game this season as well. Come meet you in person at the game. So, again, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, man, taking all this time with us, even joining us with Coach Blevins being here. And I want to thank you again. Before you get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you. I know I have the socials here for you, but let everybody know where they can find you and where they can find out more about what you're doing as well.
Yeah, man. I mean, you've got the Twitter and Instagram right there. That's where I'm most active. Definitely more football stuff will be on Twitter. That's where all my, business is handled. So I'll probably get back to you quicker on Twitter than I will on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can just type in my name, Evan Willsmore. Nothing fancy about that. I also, I'm on LinkedIn a decent amount, kind of here and there, doing some networking stuff. So yeah, man, I mean, that's where you can find me. But like I said, mostly on Twitter. Always trying to, push stuff out about our players and the game and the league. And you'll see some UFL stuff on there too, because, worked with the XFL last year. That's a league I'm still happy to follow. I know a ton of guys personally, know a ton of coaches that are still in that league right now. So, yeah, man, that's where it's at.
Definitely, most definitely, man. Again, I want to thank you for being here with us today, joining myself and double OG Gabe Garcia, man. And it was so fun to have you on the show. I can't even lie, man. It was so fun to have you here. And we'll be looking forward to speaking with you again. And thank you for all the knowledge that you've given us about the Indoor Football League. I know a lot of the viewers now who are just football junkies and are kind of like Coach Blevins and just love watching the game and being around the atmosphere of football. I know that a lot more people are going to be looking into the IFL and starting to pay attention to them too. So thank you for coming on, gracing us with your presence and giving us the knowledge that you have of this Indoor Football League so that now more and more people can have eyes on it as well. You know what I mean? So again, I wish you all the best of luck to your endeavors and what you're doing and everything moving forward in the future. You guys know where to find him, Instagram and X more so than anything. He'll get back to you faster, like you said. But again, this is Evan Willsmore, man, Director of Player Personnel. Happy birthday. Early, brother. Say it again. Happy early birthday to you, brother.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
This week. And again, thank you for coming on the Gridiron Podcast Show, which is now the Gridiron Show, live on Fuel Sports Network, YouTube, and Facebook. And again, best of luck to you on your endeavors, Evan. Thank you for joining us. Have a great one, man. We will talk to you later, brother.
Thank you. Yep. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, brother. And that's going to do it for us. And look, we had a jam-packed show. I told you it was going to be a jam-packed show today. I know it was a little unorthodox because we had two different guests on, so I was like, let me do something different. But I want to thank you guys for joining us here today on the Gridiron, presented to you by Fuel and Pro Football Alliance. I am Jerzey the King. We did say goodbye to our co-host, Gabe Garcia, earlier today. But again, man, I want to thank you guys for all the support that you guys give us. And be ready. I might be doing another Fuel Tailgate kickoff show today before the St. Louis game because there are a ton of people at that game. And we didn't really get to see the full tailgating experience like we wanted to. So be on the lookout. Make sure you're following Fuel. And if in case you're not, here's all the Fuel socials. Make sure you're following Fuel right now because we're going to be going live more than likely here in a little while in a few hours for this evening game. So around 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern, we will maybe going live with another Fuel Tailgate kickoff show, y'all. So make sure you follow them socials. We had a wild ending to game 1 of week 2 between the San Antonio Brahmas and the Memphis Showboats. It was an awesome game. I was sitting here watching it on my tablet right here. Man, look, the UFL's back. Spring football's back. Make sure you guys check out the IFL as well too. You see, I'm really big on football, just football in general, man. Make sure you guys are following everything that we're doing, everything that's going on. Again, go and download the Fuel Sports Network app and channel on your Roku and Amazon TV and devices as well. Por favor. If you are a Vegas Viper fan or you're a supporter of the league and you would love to see a Vegas franchise back in the UFL, scan that QR code, sign that petition, share that petition, and let's get a Vegas franchise brought back. Also, if you're going to be in St. Louis this evening for the game and you want to help out the B-Hawk Live crew who are doing the book drive, they will be at the Dome at America Center this evening. Make sure you bring your books if you want. If you have no way of getting your books to them and you want to instead donate money for them to go and buy books, scan that QR code right there and you can send over your funds for them to go and buy books. And today is the last day. Today is the last day, so make sure you guys get it and get it good. And again, man, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Gridiron. Again, go catch all the new shows out on Fuel Sports Network. Like I said, you have Around the UFL, Smoking Guns podcast. You have The Bottom Line. You have the X Fan Show. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you have the Jerzey the King Show. You have the Gridiron Nation or Gridiron Nation. You have the Derek King Sports Show. You have B-Hawk Live, soon to come on Wednesdays as well. The A-Team. You have the new Fuel Sports Network original by Big Ham, Jordan Igofose, and DeAndre Francois, Player Perspective, where you get, it's a show. They're just breaking down the UFL and you're getting the player's perspective from it, man. It's an awesome show. Make sure you go and check it out, as well as the Hellraisers podcast, man. So there's a lot. And there's more shows coming. There's a lot more shows coming. So make sure you guys stay tuned with us. Stay locked in with Fuel Sports Network. Go and download Fuel Sports Network. Fuel Sports Network is powered by Gateway City Sports. You can watch us live on GatewayCitySports.com. You'll actually see the Fuel Sports Network feed on GatewayCitySports.com because Fuel Sports Network is powered by Gateway City Sports. Thank you to Derek King and the Gateway City Sports family for powering the Fuel Sports Network and making all this go and helping us get us to where we are, man. And thank you guys all for watching. Again, if you want to send in your fan mail questions to the show, please do so at thegridironpodcast@gmail.com. That's thegridironpodcast@gmail.com. And again, y'all, I want to thank every single one of y'all for tuning in. Get ready for that primetime game, y'all. St. Louis Battlehawks hosting the Arlington Renegades. Also, there's some UFL or IFL games coming on today. So make sure you go to the Indoor Football League YouTube channel and subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you can get all of the notifications. Follow me on all the social media platforms, right? But I'd like you guys to follow the Jerzey the King Show on Facebook. Subscribe to the Jerzey the King Show channel on YouTube, which you're probably watching this show on right now, if you're on YouTube. Also, follow the Gridiron on Facebook and subscribe to the Gridiron channel on YouTube because the show will be moving to the Gridiron YouTube channel and Facebook channel and be streaming from there and Fuel Sports Network and no longer the Jerzey the King Show Facebook or the Jerzey the King Facebook or the Jerzey the King Show YouTube. So make sure you guys go and subscribe to the Gridiron, follow the Gridiron Facebook, subscribe to the Gridiron YouTube. Sorry, tongue-tied, y'all. And make sure if you want to send in your fan mail questions, you do so at the Gridiron Podcast at Gmail. Again, follow Fuel Sports Network. Follow Fuel everywhere on all platforms. Go and follow all the shows and the creators of these shows. Make sure you guys go and follow everyone on social media platforms as well. Man, there's not much more I can say. Again, they're doing that book drive at the Dome at America Center tonight at the game. So make sure you guys bring your books or scan that QR code. Go back and scan the QR code if you can find the bulletin posted on social media as well. You can scan the QR code and donate your money. Like I said, we have a new show airing on Mondays around the UFL with Zach Kilman and the Ref. Make sure you guys tune into that on Mondays. We have another new show coming next week, the A Team with the Ladies of Fuel RC, Mrs. Predator, Amanda, and more. I don't know who all, aside from them three, are going to be on, but that's who I know of right now. And again, Player Perspective is out. Hellraisers podcast out. There's so many new shows, man. There's so many new shows, man. So you guys go and follow Fuel Sports Network. And like I said, I may be seeing you guys in a few hours around 4 p.m. Eastern or not 4 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Nope, I'm tripping. 7 p.m. Eastern. Sorry. See you guys around 7 p.m. Eastern for another possible Fuel Tailgate kickoff show, because I think it's going to be stupid packed down there in St. Louis. So I'm going to get in touch with Dirty and A-Train. We're going to see what we got going on in St. Louis, and we might be doing another Fuel Tailgate kickoff in a few hours. So I will see you guys then. But again, follow, subscribe, show that love that you guys have been doing, man, and keep showing the support. I want to thank every single one of you who has tuned in today. And don't forget, this is your week 2 slate of the UFL. For sure. Make sure you guys tune into the game tonight. We had a great game between San Antonio and Memphis. Came down to the wire, and San Antonio edged it out. So I am currently 3-2 as of right now, going in, starting off this week with my record from last week, because I went 2-2 with my picks. So I'm 3-2 with my picks so far. Hopefully the Renegades win. Hopefully Michigan wins, and hopefully Houston wins. And then I'll be 4-0 on the week and sitting at a comfortable 4-2 for my picks. So let's see what happens, man. And for all you IFL watchers, here's what we got going on in the IFL. And again, I got my picks coming in. He said, don't forget Ebony Chrome Dome. Shut up, it. I'm going for the Gunslingers, the Panthers, the Sugar Scrolls, the Green Bay Blizzard, and the Tulsa Oilers. So that's what we're looking at for the IFL. That's what we're looking at for the NFL or for the UFL. And one thing I didn't touch on today, but there was a huge trade this week. Bills trade Stephon Diggs to the Texans for draft picks. They're getting a 2025 second-round draft pick, 2024 sixth-round draft pick, and a 2025 fifth-round draft pick. So that's what the Bills are getting back. They gave up their whole damn wide receiver core this offseason so far. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Bills do in the draft as well. So, yeah, man, there's a lot going on in football, but there's a lot going on in sports. Make sure you guys go and follow Evan Willsmore. Make sure you guys go and follow Dr. Anthony Blevins. And I want to thank every single one of you guys who tuned in and have watched today. You guys are amazing. I love you all. I want to thank you all for tuning in. This is the best show on television right now, The Gridiron, with your boy Jerzey King and my co-host Double G OG. You know what I'm saying? OG Double G. You know what I mean? So yeah, I want to thank y'all for tuning in, man. I'm having fun now, but we're out of here, y'all. This is Fuel and Pro Football Alliance presents The Gridiron. But I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for tuning in today. And next week, we'll be back live on Fuel Sports Network. Have a good one, y'all. Holla at ya boy.
I'm here to get it. nobody dimming my shine. Been a long time, homie, since I first got down. Still on top of my game, forever play to the crowd. When I'm in front of a mic and I'm in the spotlight, the Gridiron, man, we taking y'all on a flight. Always coming for the hardcore, this is what I work for. Got 'em feeling for some more, they yelling encore. Verbally, I'm bringing heat to the streets. The flame spitter, my squad, nothing but winners, and you'll never see a quitter. Cause adversity is part of the plan. Just as sure as you go, always bob your head to the jam. So turn your volume up, you can see me up on your screen. Kicking knowledge like you need it, y'all some football fiends. Bringing heat at 100, we the realest around. Welcome to the Gridiron, baby, it's going down now.